What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. In fact, it's Friday night. That means it's time for PCP Movie Night. And to everybody out there in the chat, Station, how are you doing? Tonight, we are covering the first winner of the first ActionFest 2021 PCP Army movie poll. This was the audience choice one, 10 movies picked by the audience in a chat, and we threw it up in a vote in the PCP Army, and the winner was The Fifth Element. 1997, Luc Besson, starring Bruce Willis, Mila Jovovich, Gary Oldman, Chris Tucker, Ian Holm. The list goes on and on and on. And yes, Tiny Lister is in this movie as well. Joining me tonight is a whole panel of fantastic guests, including, of course, our homie returning, Jelani.
What's up, guys? Station.
Multipass.
Nice
to have you, bro. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Glad to be here, and glad this movie won. We had a lot of good ones on there. But
have you noticed how every movie that wins PCP Army movie polls, it's always usually like, there's only been like a couple times where it's been close.
Yeah.
Like this one blew everybody.
This is a blowout.
The last one, the Keanu Reeves one, was a blowout.
Yeah.
Point Break one.
Point Break. So
speaking of Point Break, I hear that this guy likes to spend a lot of time surfing those awesome waves out in the UK. It's Mark from Geeks Unleashed. What's up, buddy?
That's all right, man. Hi guys. All right. Aziz Light. That's what I meant to say as I came in.
I always miss my bits too, man. It's all good.
All I can think of when I think of that film is that bit. Aziz Light. Oh, it cracks me up.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. We also have from Geeks Unleashed, Jasmine. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us.
Glad to have you back. You were here last time for Jelani's pick when it was Long Kiss Goodnight.
You know, I'm just convinced that me and Jelani have the same taste. Like, I mean, there's just no other explanation for this, right?
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's a great film. This is a really good film, you know. So, speaking of really good films, our Fifth Element tonight. That's right. It's Brooks showing everybody the power of love. What's up, buddy?
Coming to you live from Flushed in Paradise.
You got his bit.
Yeah, I know. Brooks had the best intro there. I had it all planned, and then he threw me off with this Point Break shit, and I was like,
a segue is a segue. So, speaking of segues, we're going to be talking about The Fifth Element, which was directed by Luc Besson. He had done Leon the Professional right before this, but this was the passion project that he was trying to make for the longest time. It took him years to put this thing together. In fact, he also knew that it was going to take another additional year when they were ready to film it, because originally he had a 400-page script with all these ideas, right? And so he had a 400-page script. They were going to make it, so he trimmed it down. He got the co-writer. What is it? Something Macon. It's not credited on the. No, there it is. Robert Mark Kamen That's right. So he brings him in, they trim it down, they're ready to go. Then they're like, you know what? The technology to do what we need to do to make it look good is still a year away. So then he made Leon the Professional. And that was his first English speaking film, right? And so this is like, at the time, had the biggest budget of a European production. And I loved it. Did really well. Not necessarily in the US when it was released, but around the world, it did really, really well. But it kind of developed this cult following through video here in America, which was crazy. It did really well in Europe, apparently. I love this film. I think it's great. Bruce Willis, Gary Oldman, Mila Jovovich. Chris Tucker. We're gonna go through the cast, and overall, I've always loved this film. It's an original film. You know, it's not based on something. It's not based on a former property. It's not an adaptation. It's an original concept. It's science fiction. It's got action. It's got drama. It's got comedy. It's a hilarious movie. It's a fun movie. It's like, you know, it's cliche almost to say it was a roller coaster ride, especially around ActionFest times. But this is a damn roller coaster ride. This is a thrill. This is such a joy to watch. It makes you... I think it's got some cheesy elements. We'll get into that in the structure bit, but overall, I enjoyed the film. I've always enjoyed this film. And even though some things seem a little bit more out of context today, for the most part, I think this film really ages very well, and the special effects, for the most part, still do hold up. What do you think overall about this film, Jelani?
Robbie? Robbie? Hey, Robbie! I love this movie, man. This movie's awesome.
That's
Every
a backup
bit of
bit.
it.
That was a backup bit.
That was a backup bit. Yeah, man. Yeah. But this film, man, it came out in the movie theater when I was there. In 97 was the year I graduated from high school, showing my age. But it's so ahead of its time. It's one of those films that, like, I was like, they make stuff like this? Because it looked like everyone was a model. Like everyone, well, there were models in this movie, but you know, it was just done by a fashion designer. Everything, all the costumes were done by a fashion designer. The aliens looked, except for the drab dog alien, whatever they were. I can't remember what they were, but their costumes were kind of, stylish. Everybody had, it looks beautiful. The film itself looks beautiful. The soundtrack is beautiful. I love everything. I mean, we're going more into depth with all the stuff, but this film, man, it just blew me away so many years ago in high school, and it still blows me away. Like, I've watched it numerous times over the years, and I'll watch this again, like more than 50 times, I'm sure. It's freaking fantastic. I mean, I love how the bad guy's a planet. That's just nuts.
Yeah.
That's freaking nuts. And who would come up with something like that? Like, the Dark Forest is just a big old planet ready to kill us all. It's just like talking and making phone calls. It's so special.
That's a little bit.
Ego, the Living Planet, Julian.
Yeah, I just like it to be a villain in a movie that I'd never seen. And I've seen Ego, the Living Planet, but not this cool.
I don't remember Ego making collect calls though.
That's right.
I don't think he did that.
That's right. He wants to
Hey, Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
That is true.
Give me them stones, bro.
Some of the few problems I have with the film involve the villain, and just there's a lot left unsaid about that, and we'll talk on that on the structure bit. What about you, Mark? What about you? Yeah, right. What about you, Mark? What do you think about the film overall?
In 1997, again showing my age, I was 16. It was the year I leave school, actually, over here, and I remember going to see that film. They had something called they don't do it anymore, which is unfortunate. It was called National Cinema Day. So you could go and see any film you wanted for £1. And so big films, you name it, could go £1. And they don't, but yeah, you could see why they stopped doing that. And so like,
making no money.
But I remember going to see Fifth Element that day, and the movie theater that I went to was just absolutely rammed. And in fact, they never let you do this now, but they let people sit in the aisles, on the floor. They were like, I mean, they must have just thought, we've literally rammed this cinema, so let's just keep printing these tickets, and they would never do that now. They'd probably be a bit worried about COVID or fire exits or something. But
those pesky fire exits.
They're probably a bit worried that people might not be able to get out. But I love this film. I think, like you said, Jelani, it's an original franchise, original movie. Sorry, it's not based off a Marvel or DC comic or a book or something like that. It's originally. It's a completely original idea, and I think the whole movie is just really appealing. I love sci-fi action films anyway, but for me there's so many little bits in this film that I love. I know sort of the back half of this movie is kind of the mission, and we're heading towards the end, but the first half there's all those little moments where Bruce's character is Corbin's getting the guy tries to rob him at his door with the stupid fucking hat, but it's all just such a little moment. And like even when he's getting his Chinese takeaway from the guy who's like, everyone's got like sort of hover cars or whatever, flying cars, and he's got this flying takeaway thingy. And I love all of this stuff. I love just the sort of the sort of the cosmetics of this movie as much as anything. I love as well like the beginning sequence that really sets up, we've got 300 years before evil comes back. I just think it's really well put together. I know the villain isn't great, and I know you made some jokes about ego. I guess you could kind of apply that to the same thing they did in the Silver Surfer Fantastic Four film with Galactus being a smoking cloud thing. And I think
but you do it in Loki and people love it. I'm just saying.
Alliance was way better.
Hey?
Well, Alliance was a cloud, by the way.
Alliance was a cloud.
But no, I don't know. Everything that I love about this film, it's a classic of mine. I've watched it so many times, and that's kind of why I was like, Robbie, I've got to come and talk about this film. I absolutely love this film. I was just like, oh man, you guys are doing Fifth Element. Let me know. I think it's a great movie. I wouldn't say it's necessarily all of its aged that well, but overall, I think it does stand up.
My favorite bit when he's getting his Chinese takeout or whatever is when the guy's giving him those like proverbs, and he's like, "I'm sure this could be good news," and he reads and he goes, "You are fired." He says it with such enthusiasm at first. That's a fun
that's the thing though. There's so many moments that are so well thought out throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't just think about Corbin getting the girl, going to the the Frost and Quarter, whatever it is, that sort of cruise ship in space. It's not just that. It's just so well put together. So,
Jasmine, what do you think about the film overall?
Oh my God, love this film. I could probably recite this film like from beginning to end and do all of the character voices and everything. I have seen this movie so many times. It was a staple with my friend group in college, and we actually kicked one of our friends out of the group when we found out that she had never seen it. We were like, no, you are no longer invited to any of our parties until you watch this movie. That is your homework. I love it. Honestly, like it's might be a little off, but like I love the androgyny of this movie. It's like men are kind of feminine, the women are kind of manly. Like it's all over the place in terms of how they portray all of these characters.
That's that costume designer. What was it? The designer. What was his name?
Jean-Paul Gaultier. Was it Gaultier? I think it was Gaultier.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating to me because it was one of those futuristic films where nobody gave a shit about that particular thing. Like no one cared what you were, where you were from. This movie was strictly based on who you know and where you can go to be seen. But that's also what made it so fun. And you kind of get to see people like doing different things that you don't normally see Gary Oldman being that silly. But he's got some of the best lines in the film to me. But I loved the ambiguity of the movie, and it's just like all of the stewardesses on the cruise on the shuttle that takes you to the cruise ship, like the cleaning bots, the robot, like everyone, the criminals, the cops, it was just all there's so much flair, and it's just what's not to love. It's like somebody was just tripping on acid and they were like, yes, neon here and flashing lights there, and you get a wig and you get a wig, and everybody's wearing 6-inch heels. Like, hell yeah, this movie's great.
Chris Tucker running around with that like collar on. I love it. I love it. And that's actually, it's one of the things, not everything ages well, I guess, but I think that one of the crazy things in which is a little bit maybe ahead of its time is that idea of that gender fluidity, of that, like, you see that, like you see it in things like Hunger Games and stuff. This is that design is totally influenced.
Oh yeah, for sure.
By what happened in The Fifth Element, right? This movie's also groundbreaking, right?
It really is. Yeah, you
Absolutely.
can't. It takes so many elements from so many different things, but it's completely original on top of it.
Yeah,
and it makes it a fantastic science fiction flick. Like, there's nothing that compares to it to me. Like, I think Lex may be close to what it was trying to do with Lex, the science fiction show,
the sci-fi show. Okay,
the sci-fi show Lex.
Like,
yeah,
that's a deep cut, bro.
Yeah, the ship itself is a giant bug. So, I mean, it's just out there. There's just so many different aspects that I see in that, and like Farscape.
Oh,
There are
I
a
love
lot of things.
Farscape. Oh.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's just elements of stuff like that, and it's things that you don't really put things together with. The aliens at the beginning, the supreme beings. I love that costume. I love that. They remind me of the aliens from, what was that movie? Oh gosh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay.
Yeah,
They remind me of like
wobbly
some
things.
of the droids from the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, they get a lot
bigger
of
ones.
those.
The bigger ones.
But there's so many little aspects, little pieces that you see in science
Different
fiction.
elements, right?
And different
5 elements.
Yeah. Speaking of elements, our fifth element is here. That's Brooks. Brooks is the heart of it all, right? If this was Captain Planet, your heart, bruh. What do you think about the movie overall, man?
I mean, I love this movie. Actually, this is one of the movies that you introduced me to back in the day, like back when we were neighbors. I'd never heard of this movie, and then and so we watched it. And I remember liking this movie a lot because it was so, the style. This movie is like all style, just about, and it's so entertaining. It's like it goes from action to comedy to romance, and it is like it's just a roller coaster. Like it's such a fun ride, watching this movie.
Absolutely, totally. And one of the things that anchors it is amazing performances from everybody involved, even the bit player, the guy that plays that tweaked out dude trying to rob Corbin. What a brilliant performance. The guy who I think is like a British pop star or something, but the guy who's like goes to the place, he's like, I'm Corbin Dallas, and it's like he's like the third
Tricky.
person.
That's tricky.
Yeah, tricky.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But like, there's so many great performances in this film. Let's highlight them. What's one you'd like to highlight, Jelani?
I'm going to out a limb. I love the diva. The diva is my absolute favorite character in this movie, because when I first saw this movie, she was coming up and she had that covering on, and she had her entourage walking with her, and it was so mysterious. And I was like, what is this? What is this alien?
what is happening?
Well, I don't know what that is. It's super tall. And back in the day, I was like, I love tall things. I'm a short guy, so I like tall people. And I was like, oh, yeah. So when I finally saw her and the song, oh my gosh, all about it. I'm all about that life.
Yeah.
I hated she died. I absolutely hated when she died.
Technically she had to. What was she going to do? Poop those things out? Was she going to poop them
I don't
out?
think they're coming out the other way.
I was like, how did she fit all of those into her body?
She's an alien, dude. I'm pretty sure she's just like
tiny stones. These are like giant fucking.
She defies the reality of.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
I think that's a backstory we don't need.
I'm sure she could have lived and taken them out.
Well, she might have been fine if she hadn't gotten shot.
Yeah.
So,
That sucks. Oh.
Maybe she just got them in and out of her belly button or something.
She's my
Maybe she can
absolute
phase,
favorite.
right? Maybe she can phase or something.
But not enough in time to stop bullets. That's a shame. That just sucks. And
Maybe she can
by,
phase except for bullets.
Bullet. Yeah. You're like,
and she
bullets.
gives it wasn't even intentional. It was just like a stray blast,
Right.
Yeah.
It was
like thank
bullets,
God.
my only weakness.
Thank the sacred beings that she got shot so Corbin could yank those things out. And he had like no problem doing it. Like there wasn't even like, I would be like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm not putting my hand in there, man. No,
Yeah.
My favorite bit on that moment is when he has to have Ruby hold the gun.
Jamie, call it Mr. Jamie.
He's just like,
dead.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, my man. Sorry.
Sorry, my man.
Oh my god, I love it. Mark, what's a character you'd like to highlight?
Do you know what? Like, I know I'll mention two characters quickly because one of them is only in the movie for about a minute. But like Luke Perry at the beginning, like he doesn't get enough mention for this because I think that first 5-10 minutes, people kind of, I guess, dismiss it a little bit because it's just the intro, whatever. But like, you know,
I put it in, bro, and I was like, "Is this the Mummy? What's going on?" I forgot.
Yeah. Or
I
Stargate.
I love that first fight.
Yeah.
Oh man, Stargate. Like, anyway,
So
the
many
first
elements.
so many. Like that first 5-10 minutes though, like Luke Perry, the professor, the priest, Aziz, you know, like it's just a great moment right at the very beginning. And you know, maybe I'll just probably leave it there in terms of, I won't talk about the other character I was going to talk about. But Luke Perry, I thought, was so good. He's so sarcastic and like quite witty and you know, also when he gets the gun and he kind of a little bit of an action star at the beginning. I thought at the time the 90s was all about Luke Perry. Like, how did you just put him in this big movie for like 2 minutes? Like, and not, I mean, what would have been great is kind of, not me, you know, I don't know, somehow he went on the alien ship and somehow he kind of came back. I know that could have stolen the
Bloodline may have been like part of the priesthood or something.
Yeah. You see. I don't know. Yeah, they kind of maybe he becomes another character later on. I don't know. How do you put Luke Perry in like a 90s movie and then not use him for more than 2 minutes?
It's
like,
the Drew Barrymore effect from Scream. That's what they did.
I suppose that's the thing as well. Like, you didn't expect him to necessarily be killed off because he was so big in 90210 back then, and he's kind of stuck in a movie at the beginning. I think back then, obviously, you didn't have social media and the internet as well as, you know, dial-up. But, you know, people weren't spoiling things like they do now. So when I went into it, I knew Luke Perry was in it. I just didn't expect him to get killed off straight away. Well, not killed off, but like, you know, kind of his character was
just thrown away.
Yeah, thrown away. Well, I thought he was really good, and just how he's like laying back, chilled out. He's got a tally chart for all the Z's Light stuff, and I was like, this is quite a cool, fun character, and you've just dropped him. That was probably like a criticism of mine in terms of, you know, you've got a brilliant character. Maybe you would have overshone Bruce Willis, so maybe you couldn't have two sort of.
You're a big Luke Perry fan.
Yeah, probably am. Yeah, maybe I should get some.
I've never heard somebody speak so passionately about Luke Perry.
He was in that TV series. I'm pretty sure. Was it Jeremiah? Yeah. I love that show. Like, and I'm not a huge Luke Perry fan, but I do think he is a good
You are
actor.
talking. I think you are, and you just don't realize it, man. I think you're more of a fan than you realize, my friend.
I might order a T-shirt.
One time as Krusty the Clown's brother.
I think, especially back then, it was hard to make that leap from the small screen to the big screen. It's still kind of like that for some people. When I was watching it, I was like, I forgot Luke Perry was in here, and as I was watching, I was like, he's a handsome man. They missed an opportunity to have him as Gambit at some point, like, and those days. Like, he would have been a good Gambit.
There are certain actors though within Hollywood that I think are really good, like actors and actresses, that just don't get, like, you know, you get certain people like, who was that stupid actor who was in Fast 9, the stupid wrestler? What's his name? Who's just been brought in?
John Cena?
John Cena?
Yeah. Honestly, John Cena is just a fucking joke. But like, honestly, like, you've got some really good actors in the world, like, and people like John Cena keep getting cast in things. Like,
John Cena is actually really funny. Okay, if you have not seen Cockblockers, you need to go and watch Cockblockers.
He's a better actor.
Funny.
He's a better actor than he is a wrestler. I will say that.
It's true.
There's a time in my life where I hated John Cena as much as I hated Ben Affleck, but I've given him credit because he's a better actor.
Ben Affleck's got better, but Ben Affleck's definitely got better. Like, but there are certain people though. I think there are some people that I think are really good, like Luke Perry, and they just don't get maybe the love that they should get. Maybe it's just because Hollywood loves to cast people. Of course, you're going to do it. You're going to cast people that sell, aren't you? You're not going to cast. Like, you know, you wouldn't put Luke Perry now on the main star of a film, but like,
well, I mean, you can't put him in any more films, so.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know that, but like,
rest in peace, bro.
No, I know that. But I liked it when he showed up in Riverdale. I liked him as the dad. I thought it was good.
He was good as the dad. I saw the first episode. That was the only bit I watched of Riverdale. But like, was there another one, or is this all about Luke Perry?
Yeah, this whole episode is Luke Perry now. It's the Luke Perry
okay,
show.
Nice. Well, that's a good spot. That's a deep cut.
I was going to mention someone else, but I'll leave it now. I've talked enough about Luke Perry.
Okay, nice. What about you, Jasmine?
I'm giving it to the president, Debo, because Friday was like the film, of course, like everybody ran around saying, "You got knocked the fuck out, fool!" Like that was just a thing. So to see Debo in a role that was not Debo, I was like, he does other stuff. This is awesome. And
It's so
you
funny
cast
watching
him
him
as
be
like,
so professional.
yeah, exactly.
Like
Like you
he's
cast
trying
him as like
to
the
give
president.
his speeches, and everybody's always
Yes.
interrupting him.
I love when he talks to Corbin's mom at the end.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
yeah,
And he just
so
like
good.
passes the receiver on to the next person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great though. He just like it was just such a difference from the role that we're used to seeing him in, like as the big silent deadly type, as to like this funny, aloof, weirdo guy that is somehow in charge of like this federation. I don't know. I loved it. He's one of my favorite like unsung heroes of the film.
That's a good bit. And my favorite bit I'm really so proud of everybody for the last couple weeks now. Every time we go to the best character, like highlight bit, like nobody's taken the obvious ones, which is awesome. It's crazy. I love this. Brooks, it's a character you'd like to highlight.
I like Gary Oldman's character in this
Zorg.
movie a lot. I mean, it's so funny because he set up as kind of like this menacing figure at first. You know, you only see the back of him, like he's in shadows, and then like all of a sudden he comes out and he's showing these alien guys these guns, and he's just a full on like snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
Like Gary Oldman's
What's
character
the
in this movie is like it's kind of like a capitalist caricature of like the super crooked capitalist who just doesn't like who's just only out to get money and doesn't care about anything. Like it seems like in this future, like the high collar and the weird head thing would be like the equivalent of like a monocle and top hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would definitely be Elon Musk if they remake this movie.
Yep.
that's
Yep.
Jean-Baptiste
shit in space
Emmanuel
for no
Zorg.
reason.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
a beautiful name. That's a beautiful name.
And that
You
southern
gotta
accent.
full
oh my
name
God.
him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gary Oldman's such a character actor, and he really gets into
Yes.
these characters. Everything he does is completely freaking different, And
yeah.
there's a moment. So this last time I was watching, I was like, why is he fucking talking to himself?
Right.
Like so much. There's so many bits. There's so many moments where it's just Gary Oldman,
Yes.
and he has to talk, right? So he said something, and it's goofy and it's funny, and I was like, when I said out loud, I was like, who's he fucking talking to? And then my girlfriend
I love
Jamie
the
was
scene
just
with him and Ian and the priest when he's talking about he knocks over the glass and everything, and then he takes a sip and then he's like choking,
yeah.
and Ian Holmes is like, "Where's the robot that pats you on the back?"
I love that.
It's just like such a funny scene out of nowhere.
Immediate
Yeah.
karma. I love how quick that karma hit him.
What Jamie had said was though, this is a dude really in love with himself.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
He would speak to himself. I do that. I would be like, say
Whoa,
something
Robbie.
funny. Jamie would like to
Good today,
highlight.
Robbie.
Jamie would like to highlight the elephant type creature in the villain's desk.
Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah. Hi, Jamie, by the way.
I want to highlight Ruby. I think Chris Tucker is awesome
Yep.
in this
Yes.
role. From
I
the
agree.
moment, what's so crazy is that when you first watch this movie, you think he's going to show up and be gone. When he shows up, he doesn't leave till the end, and like
Mhm.
he cracks me up. It's a great comedic performance. He's kind of throwing a little bit of Prince, a little bit of Michael Jackson, a lot of Chris Tucker in there. He's doing something, and that one scene where they're just like running through with the dining cart and they're getting shot at and all the
Oh my
bombs
God,
and stuff, and it's just him on a high-pitched squeal
It's
scream.
like the most high-pitched
Yes.
screaming I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And I love how he immediately goes right back into this like super narcissistic, like womanizing character when he's not in danger. Like right after this danger and they're clipping his nails, he goes, "Ow, what's wrong with you? That hurt." Or at the end, we're like, "Whoa, why are you screaming?"
Yeah.
Like bombs going off every 5 minutes. I'm leaving. Like
leaving.
it's so freaking funny. I think he is brilliant in the role, and I think he has the best costumes out of anybody.
Of course.
He does.
Hands down.
Yes.
Hands down.
It's so good. Like even
I
at the
love
bit
the
where he's like,
roses.
"I'm on fire, my man. I'm on fire." Like, and then when everything's done, he's like, "I'm out of here. I'm done with you." It's just like honestly, he's so good. And like even he's just when and like when he's doing that whole, he talks so fast, almost like
Yes.
a rapper, like on the thing, and then he goes, obviously to Corbin to say something, and Corbin's like, "Yeah, just one word or whatever." Like, but he does that whole sort of 20-minute spiel leading up to Corbin saying something, and it's so great that he's like the polar opposite of both of them. Honestly, so good.
Thrilled.
Yes,
Thrilled.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, but I do believe the heart of the film is Mila Jovovich. This is probably the best performance I think that she's ever done. She's the
Ever.
heart. Bruce Willis, I don't get their dynamic, their love story. It's so weird. It's so freaking creepy to me this time. Like he just meets this woman and then he starts talking to his friend and he like lays on the bed and it's almost like he should be reaching down. Like it's so weird. And just and like Bruce Willis is like 21 years older than her, not trying to be like, whatever, but then that's just on this time I was like, that's just the love story just comes like I get that the whole point is love.
It's love.
I get that.
Heart.
But like, bruh, this is creepy. This is
but
creepy
what's really creepy though is the real story behind that, because Luc Besson was married to the actress who played the diva at the time, left her for Mila Jovovich. They got married after that. Like the whole dynamic in the background and all the stuff that comes with that film. I freaking love it. Like it's all so messed up. It's like an episode of like Real Housewives or some bullshit like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, he was married to the diva when they first started filming. And then then him and Milo hooked up, and then he was like, "Okay, diva, like, peace out. Like, I got me a new one." And
why? She was gorgeous, even in blue costume.
I don't know what she actually looks like, bro. So I don't. I'm just kidding, man. How was that? I wonder, like, how much of the song was. They can't all be real. That has to be like synthesized, right?
Yeah, but she also did sing it. Like she sang the bass line for it. And they did tweak it up a little bit. But, yeah.
Oh, that's great stuff. Let's talk about the style and structure of the film. The look of it, the production design. It was designed. A lot of the work was done by French artists, including Mobius, famous comic book artist. So, like, the design of it is fantastic to me. The story structure. I mean, I think it doesn't let up. The only problem is I feel like they kind of rushed this love story. I don't quite buy throughout the movie. I understand the importance and power of love, but it could have been it didn't have to be like a romantic love, but whatever, it still works, and it worked then and it still works, but it just is a bit uneven. But I really wish they would have elaborated more on why Gary Oldman is connected to this giant planet, what Mr. Shadow, like, what is that? Like a little bit more, like when the blood or whatever's leaked, like what is that about? Like there's a lot of unanswered things on that end of it, but it was already, like I said, a 400-page script, and it's an over 2-hour long movie. So I think it's got some issues there, but for the most part, the story goes right through. Cinematography looks great. The directing, Luc Besson nailed it, kicked it out of the park. A great sci-fi action film. What do you think about the style and structure, Jelani?
I agree with everything. Except for the planet. I mean, I get the planet. The planet is pure dark. It's pure evil, and it's talking to people, but it's talking to people, through collect phone calls, and but at the same time, it's so evil. Like its presence, like the fact that it's there and it's talking to you is making your blood, come out of your head.
In Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. It's just like it's too much. It's too much
villain.
evil. Yeah, it's too much evil to take in, and so your body cannot handle this. Like if you faced that thing face to face, it would pop you like a tick.
Yeah, but maybe a little bit more showing that, just a little bit more.
I mean, I get it, but yeah, this film. First of all, I cannot stop talking about how beautiful and unique this film is. It has so many layers of just gorgeous. Even the trash in the freaking airport look great. The freaking bombs, both bombs on the Lost in Paradise ship. I'm like, oh man, this second bomb that comes up out of the box.
Oh, that's
I'm like, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, every detail of this movie it looks like it's 300 years from now. You know what I'm saying? It's the same. The cityscape, the smog, the Chinese junk that has that guy flies in just to serve food. It's so elaborate.
The fact that McDonald's has survived that far into the future.
Of course it did.
Yeah, they got some sexy outfits for their employees.
Yeah, for the employees to wear. Yeah. Jean-Paul Gaultier, man.
That's the McDonald's we want in the future. I'll tell you that.
That's right. I'm about that. Double quarter pounder with cheese, please.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, madam.
I also love. I want to be able. I want to be able to just get like a jar and go ding chicken. Like, oh my god! Like, can we do that, please?
The freaking future. That's a freaking
future. When the cops run into that McDonald's cart, it's like just full of like fully assembled hamburgers.
Yeah. That's just it's a shame, man. But it's such a pretty movie.
Yeah.
It is structured well. It is clunky, but it's more style. But there is a little substance there.
I think there's a lot of
substance.
I think there's a lot of substance,
but the style backs it up in such a way. Like it's just a visual feast for the eyes. That's all I can say.
It really is. And one of the reasons why is because
it's amazing.
It's a great way, and they need to do this more often of using practical effects as well as digital.
As well as digital.
Yes.
So
and they work together.
Yeah,
really
like
well.
the city, those are giant models. You know, that's why Lord of the Rings looks so good. I wish more modern movies would take that approach instead of just doing everything
It's
on
all
green
CG.
screen. If they would have made this movie today, it would have looked like Phantom Menace. What about you, Mark? What do you think about the style and structure?
You talked about the 400-page script. I couldn't find what was cut out, but like apparently what they cut out, they were considering making into a sequel. I couldn't find what that was going to be about, but I would love to know what that would be about. But I love to be honest, I love everything about it, but I do love the structure of the film. Like, like I say, the last hour or so is kind of, and you'd see this with a lot of films, like, the last 45 minutes is kind of the head towards the finale. And even in Black Widow the other day, it's sort of lots and lots of little scenes, and then suddenly you got like a last montage towards the end. Even Scream in the 90s as well, the last 40 minutes was all that one house. So and it was the same when we got to Frost and Paradise. It was the road to the end at that point, and the first hour though was lots of montage of different scenes pieced together to try and develop character over a 2-hour film. And then once we then kind of had developed those characters, it's right, okay, off they go now to their sort of mission. In terms of the style, like, it's so unique, his vision. And they did talk about Valerian and City of 1,000 Planets, or whatever it's called, as kind of a spiritual successor to this movie. Yeah, like, and I mean, when you watch that, you can tell it's literally like the same visionary, because some of the aliens right at the beginning of Valerian literally look like those aliens from the beginning of The Fifth Element.
Right.
And
it's actually a shared universe.
Yeah, well, it did make
it would be nice if it was.
It did make me think when I watched some of Valerian last night. I didn't watch it all. I've seen it before previously, but I watched a little bit of it last night.
It's pretty, but that story is weak.
Very visual. But this is the thing. Yeah. Like, this is where with Fifth Element, the visuals to Fifth Element and this Valerian, like Valerian clearly is just all CGI. Like, and it's kind of like, it did make me think a little bit, could this be a shared universe without them saying it's a shared universe? But I'm not going down that road. But like you can see it's by the same visionary. Like, he's got the same style and uniqueness that not a lot of other people have got. And he's kind of used the same way of looking at things as he's made 2 movies. But I mean, obviously he's made many films, but I love how
many films that are different though, right?
Many films that are different. Many films that are different. But that's what I was just thinking. Obviously things like Leon and stuff. But the way he's put this together and his visual take on it is just so unique. You couldn't watch this film and think it was just anyone other than him. So I think I think it's really well put together, and the comedy and the action are so well balanced. The villain of the blob thing in space is obviously very weak, but that's where we've got Gary Oldman kind of making up for it up until he gets blown up, and then we're quite reliant on the ball of darkness. So
I do also like the idea that Gary Oldman Zorg kind of dies by his own device. Like, I like that bit with the bomb, but you don't get a confrontation with him or, like, say Corbin, who's like
they just miss each other.
In the elevators.
So I kind of like that. I like that, for instance, because it subverts what we are expecting in this kind of thing, right? And a lot of it does feel formulaic, but not in a bad way. I mean, there's a formula for a reason. You know, I mean, it works. It's just how you play with it, and one of the ways you play with it is that vision that he provides. And I think he's provided vision even in movies like La Femme Nikita, and of course we all know Leon the Professional, but like, I think one of his most undersung and very different and more subtle films that he's ever done is The Messenger. Right?
Oh my God!
Oh yeah!
Oh my God!
I actually love that film.
Yeah, that's
a lot.
Film.
So that's a really kind of a subtle film.
A secret to that one too. That was originally going to be a film that was going to be done by oh my God! Now her name escapes me. She did The Hurt Locker.
Catherine Bigelow.
Catherine
Yes,
Bigelow.
thank you, Catherine
Point
Bigelow. Yes, and Point Break. So she had a
Near
script
Dark,
and everything
baby.
done,
Yeah, Near
ready
Dark.
to go for a Joan of Arc film. Luke jumped on and was like, "Oh my God, I want to do this with you, and I think we should cast Mila." Blah blah. Then Catherine didn't like the direction that it was going, and she was like, "No, I'm not doing this with you guys." He took most of her script and did The Messenger. She sued him. They settled out of court for an undisclosed amount of money. But originally, like, I think it would have been amazing to have her, like, her director eye is so fantastic, and she's so great at directing women. She would have made a phenomenal Joan of Arc movie. Like that I think that would have been great.
Now I take back what I said. I mean, it's stretching for Luc Besson, but no, Catherine. I didn't know that Catherine Bigelow doing that. That would have been amazing. I'm a huge Near Dark fan. Point Break is okay. Hurt Locker is one of my favorites too. So
yeah,
hell yeah. And what's the one where
Zero Dark 30?
Zero Dark 30. That's right. I was like, okay, yeah.
I
really
watched all her movies. Wow, I can't believe I watched all those movies.
Oh, and the one with she did the one. Did she do the one with Gary Oldman back in the day? Was it Fearless? Is that the one, or is it something?
Oh, she also did Strange Days with Angela Bassett and Ray Fiennes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes. Good old Ralph Fiennes.
Kill the spare. Jasmine, what do you think about the style and structure of the film?
Oh man, the style is fantastic. It is, to me, it is what I would say is the pinnacle of 90s. It is sort of like the culmination of, it happened right at the just at the end of the 90s, right before we're heading into Y2K and all this stuff. So it had a lot of that flair that you just don't see anymore. So now watching it, it's super nostalgic because it's like, oh my God, this like reminds me of that. And as far as the structure, like, yeah, if you pay too much attention to the plot, I mean, it's basically like looking at Swiss cheese. It's like, none of this makes any sense, but it is so fun. And the characters and the dialogue pull you along so much that it's like, I'm willing to forgive all of those things that I would normally be paying attention to just because this movie is so fun and I'm just enjoying the ride. So
Absolutely.
I kind of love, I just kind of, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we're watching The Fifth Element. Just take my brain, put you right there, sit here and enjoy this movie, and I'll pick you back up when we're done. So,
speaking of brainless, Brooks, what do you think about the style and structure?
Oh no!
I think he doesn't know now what to do.
I told you, brainless.
Well, now I don't want to. So obviously, like I said before, this movie is like this movie's all about style, and like it really works in the sci-fi setting because like when you go in sci-fi, you might as well like go for broke as far as I'm concerned. Like as far out there as you can get, the better. And I think it really works. I think this movie could have done with like more alien species, maybe, you know, like a little more variety, but they kind of make up for it in how the kind of human fashion sense in this movie. Everybody's wearing, you know, all these weird high collar shits and like the hairstyles and like, you know, Chris Tucker's fucking tube hair.
Yeah.
he was JoJo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure before JoJo was ever invented.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah,
you talking about my hair?
Great style, I think. It like story wise, it has a few like parts where I'm kind of like, nah, but you know, the ride is fun enough so that you don't really care as much.
Yeah.
How's that for brainless mother?
That was fun, man. It's just the way the segments work, man. Sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them. Eric Serra did the music of this film, which I absolutely love. It's got this jazzy approach to it. It feels Egyptian in other parts, and in other parts it feels like big. And then, of course, the centerpiece is the diva, and that whole sequence is amazing, you know. And by the way, the fight choreography is amazing too. Like that fight during that bit is brilliant. Like I love this soundtrack. It actually works. The score works so well on its own. That one piece in particular, like I said, is kind of the crux of the whole matter. But overall, I love the music. It starts with that like that mummy kind of flair, and then it goes in this jazzy, like it can draw comparisons also to like Blade Runner because it kind of like is the same world, but it's way brighter. You know, Blade Runner kind of is dark and dingy and dirty, and this one is not necessarily clean and pristine, but it's a lot brighter. Like if Blade Runner is showing us Gotham City, Fifth Element showing us Metropolis, right? And so I think the music really helps bring that out. It feels like a detective story. It feels like a sci-fi action. It feels like a comedy. It feels fresh and modern and new, but it also feels classic and ancient and rooted in some of the thematic material. What do you think about the music of the film? And by the way, Eric Sierra did a lot of Luc Besson's films as a score, including, I think he did Leon right before this. I think, Gary Oldman, I think they just brought a bunch of shit over from Leon and did this, which,
hey, we're making another movie. Come on, guys.
Yeah, rightly so. Rightly so. So what do you think about the music, Jelani?
It's beautiful. The diva, the entire diva sequence, yes. The entire fight during that scene, yeah, it's the most memorable to me in this movie. I like the soundtrack at the end, that song at the end. I feel alive, so freedom. I don't even know the words. It's so good. It is. It does have an Egyptian feel, and it puts you in the mood for this movie. Every musical piece is a set piece for the film too, and it sets it up so well. That you notice the music in this movie. It does have a beautiful impact. It's so it goes along with it being 300 years in the future too. You get all of that, and just the fact that they did the synth with the voice during the diva scene, and I was like, yeah, she's an alien. She can do that. She can totally synth her own voice. I buy it. It's completely believable, and I love it.
It does a great job because one of the things thematically about the movie is tying the past to the future. Into the now, and I think the music does that. What do you think about the music, Mark? How does it affect the film?
I think obviously we all know about the diva at the end is the high point of the music, but there's so many subtle things throughout, like when he's you first see Corbin waking up with the cigarette, which I love the cigarette, by the way.
All filter.
Like all filter. Anyway, but like when it's going 5 a day, anyway, in the background it's like the music is very robotic, like it's chunking along kind of. But I was thinking about this because you obviously sent the thing of the discussion points. I was thinking about the music and I never really thought about it before, and I was thinking obviously 1997, you got Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and TLC and all that kind of stuff, and I was thinking it would have been so easy to have had like Larger Than Life or something, or some sort of Spice Girls track playing in some of the background of some of the scenes, because those were popular things back then, which would have appealed to an even broader scope. But he didn't. But he stuck with he went with electronic music and orchestrated music and opera and stuff like that. He kept to his own style. He wasn't influenced by the 90s pop culture band music that was available, and that would have been the easy move to go to. But I thought the music that he chose actually was very much in fitting with the tone and style that he created visually. And a lot of it is in the background, and it doesn't intrude into the plot, except for clearly obviously the end element, which is very key to the plot at that point. But I think the music was very appropriate to this film.
Yeah, and if they would have used say Backstreet Boys or something like that, how dated would that be? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It'd be like when I just recently watched Too Fast, Too Furious, and they're racing a ball with a ball, and I'm like, really?
Oh, God.
Wow. Okay. Jasmine, what do you think about the music?
Love it. I love EDM in the first place. That's probably what I listen to more than anything else. So the fact that, again, with the ambiguity theme, there's a lot of just music, not too much. And the lyrics that they do have, we have no idea what the diva is saying. So it almost feels instrumental, even since you can't quite understand it. So the use of the instrumentals I thought was really great. And even, of course, the diva is a set piece, but I really like right before the credits roll and the song that's playing when they're both in that chamber, recovering. That's a really, really kind of good.
I think they're making Whoopi. I don't know if they're recovering.
That's what the thing is meant for. But what happens inside stays inside, Robbie. Don't worry about that part. Don't worry about that part.
That's right. Brooks, speaking of making Whoopi, what do you think about the music?
I thought this is actually a pretty good soundtrack. It has that kind of, orchestral sci-fi sound mixed in with like kind of an Eastern kind of sound to it, like, like Indian music sort of. And, it kind of works because it kind of brings the space. It's kind of like the space and the earth kind of merging together in a way, which is kind of like what this movie is. Like it starts off, on future Earth, but then like, you go off into space.
Yeah.
And, of course, the opera scene was quite good. It made me think of Robbie won't get this, but there's a video game called Final Fantasy VI that has an opera scene in it. I think this movie probably does a little better though.
What's a Final Fantasy? Anyway, no, yeah, the music is great. Good points, everybody. What's the movie trying to say? What this movie obviously has a pretty obvious plot point about the importance of the power of love and all this kind of stuff. But let's try to look at maybe is there something underneath that? Is there something more resonant than just the typical good versus evil kind of plot? What do you think, Jelani?
You said it earlier, and actually, I agree. It's the past and the future coming together, merging. It's an ancient evil is coming. It's been coming all this time, and it gives you the fact that you're preparing for it. It's something that you need to prepare for, and it's life is kind of the same way. We're getting ready, and it may take 300 years to get there, but when it does, you're ready for it in some form or fashion. And even with your best laid plans, they can go south too. Because they were flying the Fifth Element there, and they blew up the ship. Who knew the lucky chance that a hand would end up saving the entire world? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the fact that they had technology available to create or to recreate that person, or it could have looked like that alien. You know what I'm saying? It could have been like an alien, but it turned out to be human. And it's little things like that, like little happenstances that make this film work out so well. And that's what I think it's trying to say.
What about you, Mark? What's this movie trying to say?
Time not important, only life.
Only life.
Back up bit.
No, I do know what, like it's a nice action film, comedy, whatever, but underneath it all, I do think actually they do push home a lot of the life and the love and stuff like that, when she finds out about war. And yeah, I know we talked about it being a bit of a creepy, rushed love story, but you've got a 2-hour film to try and tell a lot of elements. And I do think it is about five elements. It's got 5 elements to tell. I did I'm pretty sure from memory now, that when they were rebuilding Mila Jovovich as well, honestly, if I've forgotten this or I've got this wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that they said something about that being a man, and then it obviously Mila Jovovich being a woman as well, and I love that as well, that it was a female, the supreme being is a woman, and that's again very different from 90s, considering it's so. I know we talked about this in the previous film that we were on, Long Kiss Goodnight. Having a real strong female lead isn't something that was very common back in the 90s. So I think it was just a very female-led film, which and actually to show a female as the supreme being was I don't know, something for women to be proud of, actually. That, and Mila Jovovich did such a good job in this movie. Mm-hmm. She played being adorable and action packed at the same time, so I think it combined all elements, really, having a good lead female in a very sort of unusual movie. But yeah, love and life really, I think, is kind of its deeper message. So.
Yeah, for real. And she does a great job of showing that vulnerability, of
big bada boom.
Oh,
big
yeah,
bada boom, big bada boom.
Please help.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's so sad when she's up in the ventilation shafts, and you're just like,
oh yeah.
Like the way that Mila makes you feel for Lilu in this movie is how you should feel for Jesus when you're watching the Jesus film. Does that make sense? Like that kind of like, oh, why y'all? Why? Jasmine, what do you think about what's this movie trying to say?
Hold on, I gotta follow the Jesus bit.
Yes,
I'm just saying, like, the way that Jesus should be portrayed is like, whatever. This is weird. The idea of like this love
Weird stretch.
it's not a
Well,
weird
but
stretch.
Unconditional love, I can see that.
Unconditional love.
Sacrifice.
He got
Yeah.
beat. He got beat
Yeah.
for loving. Is that what you mean?
That's what
Oh.
she was doing, dude. She
Get
comes to
beat
this
up for
she comes to
loving?
this world to save it, and she winds up getting attacked, getting shot, getting she
Yeah,
goes
they
through a
did not
lot of
treat her
shit, and
well.
when she
Yeah,
realizes
that's true, actually.
the
Like,
nature
Yeah.
of humanity, right? Like she
hadn't thought
is
about
the
this
Christ
before,
figure
yeah.
in this film, yo. Okay, like
She
I'm
should
not
have died
weird.
like 20 times in this movie.
to be honest, I hadn't really thought about it. Like, she came to
She
Earth
did
to save
die.
us all. Which, yeah,
Die.
actually, to be honest, that hadn't really occurred to me. Jesus was sent to Earth to save us all from our sins, and she was sent to Earth to save us from this ball of fire. Like, but she doesn't get an easy ride to save us. Yeah, no, I'd never.
Yeah, and I just
Never-
say
never
Jesus
linked
because
those,
it's an easy one for a lot of people, and other people. But in a lot of cultures, there's this central figure
Yeah.
of this sacrificial.
Yeah, I mean, like
kind
in
of
Matrix, you've got Neo as well. You've got the Chosen
Yeah.
One in a lot of
Yeah.
franchises.
and that's the hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
it's not Bruce's story, it's
No.
Lilu's, and
Yeah.
that's what I like
Right.
about it. Jasmine, what's this movie trying to say?
To me, this movie is trying to say Captain Planet was right, bitch.
Ah.
I really think that this movie is trying to say like nothing is infinite, whether that is resources, whether that is love, whether that is anything really. Like nothing is infinite, and if you want things to stick around, you actually have to do the work to make these things stick around. Which, I mean, yes, that's very vague and kind of like an overarching thing, but that's always what I get from it when I watch, is that like shit don't last, and if you want to make the most of it, you have a very limited opportunity to do so.
Nicely
Oh,
put. What about you, Brooks?
To me, this movie is kind of about trust and, placing your trust in like the common man. Because one thing I noticed about this movie is like the people with the most power actually have the least agency in this movie. Like President Debo, he can't do anything. The general guy, he can. Even Gary Oldman is like just flailing around, like barely keeping it together. Like the people that are, that we put our trust in are Corbin Dallas and, Ian Holm, the priest, like the common men. While the supposed powers are just flailing around helplessly.
Or leeching off of everyone else below them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think it's about, you got to trust that, that the common man knows what he's doing, can do the right thing given the opportunity.
Right.
Very nice, very nice. For me, if I want to go deeper into this film, I think it's about the balance of the elements. And what I mean by that is if you look at the classical elements, if you look at things like alchemy, if you look at things like, I don't know, say like ceremonial magic or other cultures, and even you can go into like Greek philosophy and this kind of stuff. But the idea of, they have to bring together earth, fire, air, and water, right?
And heart.
By the way, earth, wind, and fire, if you don't have the other one, you make a really dope funk band, okay? Like one of the best. But when you have all four together, you make that fifth element, right? And so what earth is the king, structure, stability, right? That's the king inside all, the king or the queen, right? The ruling force that's grounded, the fires that passion, the fires that passion, the fires that energy that you bring, that ambition, the will to actually get things done. The air is your mental faculty, the intelligence, the communication skills. That's your magician, okay? And your fire's like your warrior, right? And then your earth, your water, that's your emotional side, right? That's your intuition as well. That's your subconscious, right? So that's your lover. So we all inside of us have a warrior, a lover, a king, queen, however you want to put it, and a magician. And when you bring all four of them into balance together in your life, you create the fifth element. Which, is it love? No, it's not love. Love brings about the fifth element. And what it is divine energy, right? That's what that is. She's the supreme being. She comes together. All the lights shine into a white light that gets rid of the overarching evil that's coming to to take over. That doubt, that self-doubt, that voice inside your head that says you're not good enough, that you'll never be able to make it. You know, the Loki that tells the other Loki that you'll never be anything and you can't trust me, right? But like, if you can balance the kingly side of yourself with your warrior side, with your lover, with your magician, if you can do that and you can bring it all to a point, you can bring that divine spark into your own life. And what do I mean when I say divine energy? I mean a creative energy. And that means you create your life, your path. You create a better world based on starting with yourself, centering yourself within your 4 elements. And then you go forth and bring change through creation. Wow.
You really sound like the Oracle there, Robbie, when she tells Neo that the secret is know thyself.
It's true. I mean, you can't change the world if you can't change your sheets on your bed. Like that's really an oversimplification, but you get what I'm saying. Like, yeah.
I don't change
sheets
on my bed.
It all starts, and this is something I had a great conversation last night with Kenny from Captain Comics and Dan from Dank Comics, and that was a point that we kind of got to was it all starts. You know, whatever change you want to affect in the world, it starts with you. You can't change yourself. You ain't changing the world.
Yeah.
Right.
My dad, who is 70 now, always says if you don't go out, nothing ever happens. And I think that's a bit like that, isn't it? You know, you stay at home, you don't do anything. You know, like nothing's going to change by not leaving your front door. So,
yeah, absolutely. What is it? A journey of 1,000 steps begins with one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or falling into a cab. Who knows? however it comes about. Anyway. So now it's time for the ratings. You out there in the chat, I want to know out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give the 5th element? Out of 5 possible elements, what do you give it? Jelani, we'll start with you, bro.
Well, man, Coben, my man, Robert, my man. I will give the 5 element 5 you digs. I absolutely adore this film. This movie is the business. It has so many beautiful elements to it. And
You're not even trying to do that now. That's what's funny.
I don't care. It's gonna happen. But the rewatchability of it is insane. I will watch this as many times as I need to. I forgot how beautiful it was. I didn't even watch it like in its full capacity. I watched it like BBC America, and I was like, I know what this movie is. I've seen it. It's so good, and it's elemental. I mean, everything about it, the music, the costumes, the characters, the everything. I'm really drawn to it still. I watched it several times in the movie theater. I hate I couldn't watch it in the movie theater this time. You know, it's so beautiful to watch on the big screen, and I remember it well. And it's just one of those movies that I didn't expect to watch and enjoy. And when I did, I was like, wow, I really love this movie. I really love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, you're right. Nice. And the sound, T-Tex sounds, baby. You can't beat it.
5 you dig.
5, baby.
5 elements. What about you, Mark?
It would have to be a 5 for me as well. Yeah, magic 5. All 5 elements for me. I love this film. I think it's an amazing, beautiful film. Like, yeah, it could never not be a 5.
All right, I can dig that. What about you, Jasmine?
Oh man, this movie is green, super green. 5 you digs.
Super green. Super
no
green.
questions asked. 5 you digs.
5.
Wow, I'm seeing a trend develop here. What about you, Brooks?
Well, I like this movie a lot, but I mean, the love story I think is pretty weak considering what a giant plot point it is, and I would have liked Lulu to get like a little more, action in this movie than that one scene. So I give this a 4.5 just for that, and the whole the laser coming from them kissing that hit the thing. I thought that was pretty corny.
About you, Brooks.
It's like a Care Bear stare.
Change, bro.
Stop shaming him. 4.5 is a magnificent score for a film, man. Okay.
It is, but we were on the
first
trend,
time I watched
baby.
it, I probably would have given it a 5, actually.
We were on a roll. What's going on?
Well, Brooks
Sorry.
Brooks is
It's
making
okay,
me feel
Brooks.
Brooks is making me feel better about this next bit. I'm giving it a 4.5 as well because
That's why you were saving him. Now I see everything.
no, I'm serious. It's just, here's the thing.
Nah, I knew
I
it.
love
Trying to
I
soften
knew
the
it,
blow of his
bruh.
betrayal.
a 4. Here's good. Let's be honest about this, okay? If we're breaking down 5 you digs, 3.5 is a really good score for a movie. Okay,
It is.
even a 3, all right, and a 4 is really good. And 4.5 and it's pretty amazing. Like a 5. Okay, here's the thing: the love story, like Brooks said, it just doesn't work for me as well. Like if it was a universal love, if it was I care, I do. If he didn't have to say I love you, he just said I want you to live. That's all. You know, right? That's the one difference that would have made a difference for me. But it's also just the villain is supremely underdeveloped in this film. So that being said, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's a fantastic film. I watch over and over again. It's one of my favorite films, but I do got to knock it down to a 4.5. So 5 from Jelani and Mark and Jasmine, and a 4.5 from me and Brooks for a PCP average of 4.69, dude.
Whoa! Again?
Who knew
Crazy.
what that was going to be?
So freaking crazy.
Oh.
Jamie says 5 you digs, 5 elements. Actually, hell yeah. Missing link, Stefan, who just recently had a birthday. Everybody say
Happy birthday, man.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
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 5 out of 5 you digs, which is 5.5 backlogs. No, backlogs have not risen that much in
No.
the currency. That's
There's
still
no
like
for that.
that's still
Yeah.
like 7 backlogs, but it is like 12 slips. So that's
We don't want
That's
some
crazy.
backlogs into space, bro.
Eddie says 5 you digs. Third
See,
rail
the
says
the
I
rest
still
of us just can't take our bias out of our score. That's all.
that's okay.
That's
That's
all there
fine
is
though.
to it.
That's
I
fine.
refuse.
Here's
I
something.
can ignore
Third-
stuff. I ignore
listen.
a lot.
Third rail says I still think Blade Runner will run it over. It's a 4. That's the
That's
thing for
unfair.
me. Blade. I know it's unfair to compare it, but if Blade Runner to me is a 5, Fifth Element's definitely a 4.5. Even
don't
though
like Blade
Blade
Runner.
Runner's got a very unbelievable love story as well, because
It does.
those actors have no chemistry together, man.
None.
Sean Young and Harrison Ford, but
Not
still
at
a
all.
masterpiece. Speaking of masterpiece, Fable says 5 you digs. It's a
Good
masterpiece.
job, Fable.
The Buffy guy says 5 multi passes.
Multipasses.
Yep.
Yes.
Multipass.
Multipass.
Albert says 4.5, nothing to scoff at. And missing links like 4.5 ain't bad. Yeah, 4.5 out of 5 ain't too bad, y'all. I mean, shit. 69. All right. Well, that was our look at Fifth Element. Thank you, PCP Army. You're responsible for this. So thank you so much. Join us next week for PCP Movie Night for a very fun show where we're talking about all 3 John Wick films. And as of right
Wow.
now, I haven't seen a single one.
What?
I cannot wait for this. I cannot.
So I
wait
cannot
see
wait to
him.
watch this. Ibrahim
Dude.
Mustafa was going to join us. Unfortunately, he's behind on deadline, so he will not be joining us. But we do have the promised return of Jay Strick and Brian, the Brianiac. So, but before all that, if you want to see more movie reviews and movies that get less than 5 you digs, join me tomorrow night on Dylan's Horror Show at 6 p.m. Central Time, where we're doing a werewolf double feature. We're doing Silver Bullet and Bad Moon.
Werewolf
just let me-
movies.
2 werewolf movies. I really appreciate I haven't seen Silver Bullet since I was probably like a kid. And I actually enjoyed rewatching Silver Bullet. It's still one of my least favorite looking werewolves in cinema.
Mhm.
Bad Moon has a brilliant looking werewolf in cinema, but is such a weird stretch of a fucking movie, y'all. Like, I had never seen that one. That's a weird movie. It doesn't know if it wants to be a werewolf film. It doesn't know if it wants to be The Howling or Dennis the fucking Menace. Like, I'm serious about
What?
that too.
Those are weird
It's so,
stretches.
and literally the kid from Dennis the Menace, the 90s movie, is
Yeah.
in it. It's
Yeah.
so
It's weird.
fucking
Did
weird.
somebody suggest
Walter
us to watch
Matthau,
that
the
movie?
werewolf hunter.
It's such a weird movie. But anyway, that's next week. But we will be back here for PCP Back Chat just a few moments. Station. You know, one thing that we didn't talk about is why in the hell, whose decision was it to make Bruce Willis blonde?
I don't know. Was that a wig or was that his hair before he lost
I think it was dyed.
No, that was his hair.
If Bruce Willis is going to wear a wig, he ain't going to be balding.
You know,
Right.
Mila had been dyeing her hair orange while they were filming, and it was so awful in her hair that she eventually switched to a wig before they finished production.
That's fair. Yeah, because it looks a mess.
And apparently Gary Oldman
Yeah.
hated his headpiece, and Chris Tucker really was worried about his performance in this film, in particular his costumes.
Oh, he was fantastic.
He was.
All night long. All
Oh.
night long.
When he just like
all
comes up
night.
on that like one like I guess I don't know, like I guess she was almost like a server or something like that, right? But like, or that one flight attendant or whatever, like when he just comes up and
Oh,
I myself was like, bruh.
Yo, Ruby. My Ruby.
My man.
My
Yo,
man.
man.
Yo, man. What? Yeah, he was getting all of them ladies.
Yeah, and you know, there was all that controversy like a month ago, meaningless controversy about whether or not Batman gives oral pleasure to Catwoman. We know that Ruby gives oral pleasure.
Oh,
That's
for
right.
sure. Of course he does.
Oh.
I've never felt this way. Yeah, about a human.
Do you know what? I just went on his IMDb. He hasn't done anything for ages.
I know, right?
Chris Tucker disappeared off the map. He did that on purpose. He did one comedy special like 2 or 3 years ago, and that's it. That's all he's really done.
Yeah, his big return to the
But I can't
screen was
remember.
what movie was that? That movie with Jennifer Lawrence and
Well, yeah, that
Bradley
was
Cooper.
still years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah, the
Silver Linings
Playbook.
Playbook. Yeah, there
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
I love that movie. I forgot.
And then
he was in
before,
that.
and then
You're
before
right.
that, it's Rush Hour 3, and that's it. Literally,
Yep.
like.
I think I read somewhere that it was some kind of, it was like a mental, like he took a break to work on his own mental health, kind of like what Kid Cudi did.
Yeah.
Good.
Dave Chappelle had to do that too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
I
to.
mean, you got. I mean, fame is crazy.
Yeah.
That's right, Station Brother.
And fans are assholes sometimes.
Yes, they are.
You
Yeah.
need a break from them.
I want to be rich. I want to be stupid rich. I never want to be famous.
Oh yeah,
I
never.
know, yeah,
Never.
yeah.
Ooh,
I think,
that's
do you know
a
what? If I was
whole
gonna have
nother
an,
level.
if I was gonna be in anything that was in the fame industry, I'd want to be like on the radio, like
Yeah.
just be able to
Never
walk down
see
the
my
street.
face.
As long as
Yeah.
I don't speak, no one knows me. Like,
Be a famous voice actor.
yeah, voice actor. Yeah, like so
Yeah.
your recognizability is a lot lower. Like, actually, me and Jasmine were talking about this earlier before we started recording. Like, people that are in the fame industry, they've got a right to a life, and not every fan appreciates that. Like I was,
Yeah.
I remember, I can't remember who it was, but I remember some actor talking about how they were chasing their 5-year-old down the beach who was throwing a wobbly and running off, and then someone runs up to them saying, "Can I get a selfie?" And they're like, "Fuck off, man! Like my kid's about to run in the sea." Like, and like, and it's like one pick a time in a moment. Like, you can see
Yeah.
that they're clearly not in a position to take selfies.
Right.
And but also just just leave them alone. Like, I was in the gym. That's probably a year or two ago, and it was a British actor, and I was with my kids, and I looked up and I saw this British actor in front of me with his kid. And I was about to say hi because I recognized him, because it was just like natural, like only because I recognized him. But I was like, just say, I even literally thought in my mind, just leave him alone, man. He's like his day off, like, and yeah. So like, he don't want some random bloke saying, "All right, mate," like, how's it going? But yeah,
That's when you just give him the silent nod. Be like,
yeah. I
Throw up a hand.
I just smiled, and that was
Tip
it.
of the cap.
Yeah.
Figure drawing says the worst is being famous without the money.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Well, that's
I
normal.
want to be a poor
that's-
famous person.
Infamous.
Yeah, no.
I was going to say that's normally famous for the wrong reasons, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want the fame without the money.
Yeah. I need the fame and the money, but no
Yeah.
fame. I need
Yeah.
to slow that fame back, dial that back. I need to go to the grocery store. Buy toys at Walmart.
That's what's really great about the comic book industry is you could be mega famous in the comic book industry, but I bet Todd McFarlane can still go buy groceries.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bet Rob
Do you know,
Liefeld
though,
can go get some new Levi's without anybody. And I bet that pisses him off
I'm
when
sure
nobody
they're
else.
gonna
It does.
I bet it pisses someone like Todd McFarlane off.
Nah, I bet Todd's way too
Todd's
cool
got
for
an
that.
emo, but he's cool.
He's an exexecutive. He's fine.
Yeah.
Todd's a
He's
happy
living his
dude.
life.
I wonder if Rob Liefeld gets pestered about his feet.
I'll leave him alone. Rob's a great guy.
Why do you keep you act like you met him or something? I'm worried, man. I'm worried.
I want you to.
Liefeld actually has like these little stumpy feet.
Yeah.
You meet him in person, you look down, and he's like,
Pointless lines.
Yeah, that'd actually be so funny if he
that
just
explains a lot.
if he didn't have any feet.
Yeah.
It's like you're the opposite of Sam Keith. Like Sam Keith made the match with these giant hulking feet. So Liefeld's like, let's go the opposite way there.
I'm going to say this, Brooks. No offense to you. I love you. I think you're a great artist, but Rob Liefeld draws better feet than you do. You know what I'm saying? And he draws better feet than I do. He draws better feet
this
than
Rob
I do.
Liefeld defense. I'm really worried about
I can draw feet or circles of feet around Rob Liefeld.
Let me show you guys something real quick.
Okay?
Uh-oh, here we go. Here we
I
go.
bet she draws pockets better.
It's a show off. It's
Yeah,
a showdown. A foot
That's
showdown.
how Brooks draws feet, y'all. Okay? That's how Brooks draws feet.
I bet Tarantino still likes him that way too, though.
You know how I draw
Yeah.
feet? Do you know how I draw feet?
used
I
the
draw
Charles
feet like
Schultz
that.
Method of feet
That's a
drawing.
very Rob Liefeld way of drawing
That's a
feet.
dino foot, Robbie.
Yeah.
It's perspective.
Oh God.
Oh man.
I don't know where this conversation went.
I love it. This is why we
That's
do
what
back
got
chat.
with.
I love it.
We
What
do
if Rob
these,
has a
man.
foot fetish in real life? I just love it. Like everybody gets
Rob
on him
and
for
Quentin
drawing
Tarantino
feet.
meet up sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody
To be
gets
honest,
on.
I don't really care about his feet. It's just
I don't
know
care
they're
about the
like,
feet either. I just
Don't
draw
worry
a
about all those
fucking,
pockets.
draw a fucking background. Just draw a background.
Yeah.
Like, and I would say that with most artists. Just draw a fucking background.
I do love his Captain America though. That was good.
I don't know if you're being funny, but I did too. Like
Do you know? No.
His Captain America had big breasts.
Do you know what though?
it's his Cable did, man. Like this is his style, man.
No,
and there's an energy to it. Whatever. I'm not going to spin the rest of back chat.
Big
That's
pecs
a
were
very
Ending
Jack
problem.
Kirby
part of
kind
watching
energy
that movie in
to
3D.
his
No, do you know what
drawings.
though? No, do you know what?
Like
The
his
Heroes
page
Reborn.
layouts.
The Heroes Reborn. I actually did enjoy his art in Heroes Reborn, and I know Marvel ditched him because it wasn't as popular, and they brought someone else in. I was actually really disappointed. I actually quite liked him illustrating the Heroes Reborn Captain America. I was joking about the chest thing, but like I did actually enjoy him. I know, but I actually did enjoy his
Is that
art.
like the Captain America drawing where he's like looking this way? But
Yeah.
his chest is
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
How
That
they
picture
drew-
like fucks with my brain, man. I'm like, wait, what?
I know, man.
What?
I get it.
How does
I
that
like
work?
it. Will
That's why
Smith,
Rob's
they made
like.
this
That's
name
why I
Will
don't
Smith.
draw dudes in profile. I just draw them like straight on. I mean, I just whatever. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
3/4 view.
Defending Rob Liefeld.
Here's the thing.
know you guys.
I want one more
know you
thing I
guys.
got to say about Rob Liefeld. His latest comic book work was the final issue of Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Snake Eyes Dead Game, whatever, right? Each page in that issue was inked by a different person because Rob usually inks himself, okay? So each page was inked by a different person, from Neil Adams to Kevin Eastman to Will Sportasio, like you name it, they were there. But here's the thing. There are certain pages in that look amazing.
Yeah, because different artists were inking it.
Depending on the inking, right? So like
But it's
I think
Liefeld.
Rob's early strength was inking. I think he lost that because I think that the technique has changed, right? And I think that he could really do something if he had like the image inked by Kevin Eastman was crazy. The ones inked by like Ed Piscor were amazing. Neil Adams, that was like you could tell who inked it. Like the Philip Tan inked them on a page, and it was just gorgeous. It adds depth to the image. A lot of Rob Liefeld images can seem flat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he does draw a lot of flat characters.
No, I've not read that Snake Eyes. Can you pick it up without reading anything else? I don't read G.I.
Yeah.
Joe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Is it good? But it's really cool at least to look at that last issue and see what different. It's a great like exploration into what inkers do, and inking is a lost art in the comic book industry right now.
No,
Because
that's the front cover there. Like I actually have to say I quite like that. Like I think it does look quite nice.
I'm gonna blow you up there. Yeah.
Yeah, like I actually think that it's a bit blurry on the screen there, but I actually do have to say I can't really criticize that. Like that is a nice cover.
Yeah. Inking is a lost art though. They lean so much now on the colorists to do that, because the colorists now like do a lot more. They add that depth, they add that dimension, and that used to be the inkers that did that. So
I'll tell you what. I'll pick up that graphic novel. It comes out in November. I'll just buy collected.
Okay, but don't blame me. I'm just saying it's interesting to look at that last issue to see how the different inkers approaches.
No. I will take an approach. I will take that approach when I go into it. I won't go into it thinking I'm going to be blown away by.
Damn it, Robbie! You made me buy this, and it's
you made me drop 15 quid on this book. Like, no,
I see the future.
Hey, I'm just happy now because I have the trifecta that only Rob Liefeld has done. All 3 original patriotic American superheroes he's done and launched an issue number 1 of. So it was Fighting American, Captain America, and he just recently did the Shield, the Archie comics character. So that's nobody's done that. That's a cool thing. I think it's cool. Here's the thing about Rob Liefeld. Literally hasn't done work.
I wish you could go back in time and tell your younger self, hey, in a few years, you're going to say that Rob Liefeld's good.
I know, bruh.
You just spit in my face.
This means that
in my face.
I'm trying to bring my elements within balance. Okay. So what I'm saying though,
I know you want positivity, man.
Here's the no, it's not just about the positivity, bro. It's about trying to let go of previous sometimes we make up our minds like we're against this and that defines us. And I'm trying to break that down little by little.
I'm not against Kate Beckinsale anymore.
Well, that's good for you, bro. And I like Lou Ferrigno now, even though he treated me like a complete dickbag that time. But
he did.
And you were really there. And I was Jelani can back me up. But here's the thing about Rob Liefeld. He really hasn't done anything as far as work-wise, anything relevant in a long time. But we keep fucking talking about him. And to me, that's awesome.
It's because of the pointless lines and tiny feet and cross-hatching.
If he's always causing some shit. There's just this week there was controversy because he had to drop out of Big Apple Comic Con, and then Big Apple Comic Con came out and said that they didn't know about this, and that Rob just announced it on social media that he wouldn't be there, and they were never informed of this, and he's contractually obligated, and he's a liar. And then he started feuding with them, man. Like, so you got this like Twitter, Facebook feud going on with the Comic Con and Rob Liefeld, man. It was wild.
Twitter get you fired.
Haven't these people had media training?
No.
Like, don't fight on Twitter. Like
nobody in the comic book.
Simple rule.
I'm not on Twitter to fight.
Well, I know that Mark and Jasmine are on Twitter, so they can understand this. But like, I feel like a lot of people in the comic book industry have they don't have any kind of like training on how to act on social media, man.
Let that go. Do not put your thoughts. Don't put your thoughts. Don't put your actions. Just put happy photos of you and kids. And look at me. I'm famous. That's
be like, hey, here's my new book. Here's my new
buy
book.
it.
Hey, I watched
Here's the link to buy it. That's what you do.
Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about religion. Don't talk about your spirituality.
Bruh. But they
do that off Twitter.
Dude, I tell you what, there's so much. There's always
I like my job
every week in just the comic book industry. There's always like 5 hot topics that all come from Twitter feuds, man.
Yep.
Was it Tom King?
Nonsense.
Was it Tom King that said, "Don't buy someone whatever"? I can't remember who it was. This cover is not the official cover.
The Jay Lee cover.
The Jay Lee cover. Yeah.
And he claimed that Jay Lee was part of Comicsgate. And Jay Lee's like, "What's a fucking Comicsgate?
Like, what's the Comicsgate?"
Which adds in the idea of this. Like, why do you also expect everybody to know this shit? Like, they expect you to know what the hell this person did. Most people don't. They don't even know who's writing Superman. They just like a good comic book, you know? It's so weird. Like Jay Lee's like, I didn't know about Comicsgate, and Tom King and I saw a bunch of people, other people come out and be like, well, you know, that's easy to say, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, maybe he doesn't. Does he have to be plugged into Twitter? Like, aren't you better not knowing what Comicsgate is? Like, isn't your life better?
You are.
Probably? I don't know what Comicsgate is.
Yeah, Brooks, aren't you just happy in general about comics?
Don't you love comics, man? Don't you love how things aren't inserted into your comics?
Sometimes you don't even see how the sausage is made, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want a behind-the-scenes peek.
You know, that's true, actually. I said to a lady the other day who works at a farm, and I don't want to get too graphic about it, but she was talking about, obviously, the... well, she mentioned it's a horrible name. The slaughterhouse, where obviously the animals go from being
slaughterhouse.
To being a burger.
Yeah, to being a burger.
Yeah.
And I just said, does that not ever put you off? And she just said, no, not really. Like, and I said, it's only because you see the whole process. Like, I've been to a farm, I've had a hamburger, but I've never seen the middle process. Like, and I'm not sure if I'd want to see the whole process. Like, but and again,
I've accidentally seen it, and I'm okay with it.
I mean, yeah, like I think, like Robbie said though, you know, you pick up a comic, you enjoy it. You know, you don't necessarily know. Unless you find out they're a paedophile or something, then, you know, I think you need to then step back potentially. Like, but, you know, if there's been some little drama between two of the creators, you don't need to know all that stuff. Like, you know, I know we probably talk about it, but to the general fan who walks in and buys this Fantastic Four, you don't care. Like,
it's all fickle too on social media. I think it's
so fleeting.
You'll see people.
The problem is,
yeah, well, you like the recent X Factor thing. Like when X Factor got canceled, a bunch of people came out and they were like, "Oh, this is, of course, they're going to cancel the most like queer friendly X book, right?" And okay, and then Leah Williams' last issue dealt with Prodigy, who's a black character who's also queer, who was like raped and murdered, but it didn't like vividly show it, but it like touched on this subject. And Leah Williams is trying to like, you know. Maybe it wasn't handled the best way, but it wasn't like gratuitous. It wasn't like they didn't literally show anything. Like it's just something talked about. Then all these people came out and they were like, trigger warning. She's always been homophobic and racist. We're like, what? They were like the same people lamenting that X Factor got canceled 2 weeks before because it was a queer friendly book. And it's like, sometimes it's just like, what outrage train are you jumping on, man? Like, oh my goodness.
I don't know. Getting canceled. I thought it was just wrapping up.
No, it got cut short, but it's moved. Some of the stuff's moving into Trials of Magneto. X Factor wasn't a book I liked, but it sucks to see somebody's book get canceled. But the point of that being is like, there are people that are literally for something and then against the very same thing, just like, and this goes on all sides of social media. You just see it go back and forth. And the media, the comic media, what there, thank God for things like Geeks Unleashed and some of our friends here on YouTube, because what passes for comics journalism nowadays, I think they just pick these Twitter battles and they focus on them, and they take the focus away from like maybe putting a little heat under the seat.
Comics fake news media.
It's not necessarily fake news, but it's just it's so fickle. I think I don't know.
I think though that's like things like Bleeding Cool is generated by, you know, they need their clicks, don't they, for their advertising. So, you know, you put in a headline that's going to draw a couple of thousand clicks, and a lot of the time that's just screenshots of Twitter. Like, and you know, I think when you go into Bleeding Cool, you are probably going to get into the background stuff of comics. If you go to say CBR and Newsarama, like, they kind of just focus on actually the material. Like CBR maybe a little bit goes into stuff, but nowhere near the level of Bleeding Cool. Like,
what about we got this covered?
That is fake news. So is what Cosmic Book News and all that kind of stuff.
We got this covered. Like, I mean, even people in the comments are just like, this isn't real. Like,
At least once a month, somebody in the PCP Army shares something from them, and everybody's like, "This is this is fake."
And they always say, and we got this covered, something like, and it's the same person that told us this news, and the same person that told us this news, so therefore it must be true. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, like I still don't believe it, though. Like, I don't even go to that website.
I just hate how it takes the focus away from the art, from the craft, and I get it. Like when someone is revealed to be an absolute piece of shit, right? Like that's something to talk about, right? Like, yeah, that's something to talk about and deal with and move on from. But it's like so many people just jump to whatever the hot fucking talking point is that week. I don't know. Jasmine, do you have anything to say about this?
I mean, honestly, it just goes back to like, people really need to have some kind of media training, and it's not just like it's comic people, but I also have this beef. I was a sport major in college. I have this beef with athletes, especially brand new, like professional athletes. Like, somebody should have told you before you left college, like, shut the fuck up. Like that is the best advice anybody can ever give you. Just shut up. So if anybody wants a coordinator or something like that, hit me up. Yeah. I will be happy to pick up the phone and say, shut the fuck up. Like, if you pay me this, I will do that for you. I would be happy to do that. Please.
Yeah, sounds just be fair. Like, read a potential tweet and be like, nope. Nah, dog, I don't think that's a good one.
Exactly. Like,
don't send that.
How hard is that?
I
Have a
just
PR
leave that
team.
alone.
If you're famous, if you're like A-list famous, and you have a Twitter feed or your Twitter account, there should be something. You shouldn't even be writing that. That should be like
And
a
people
PR
get in
team.
trouble. Look what happened to Chrissy Teigen. She used to be a Twitter darling, and
Yep.
she went off the rails. And
I still
Twitter-
don't know what happened to her, but there was
Twitter
just like
drove her ass
cancel,
off Twitter. That's what happened.
On the
cancel.
other hand, right? On the other hand, I think as fans, we need to realize that just because we have access to certain people through social
Yes.
media doesn't mean that we have the right or the need to get on there. Like, if you want to get on there and say that like Tom King or Donnie Cates or Gail Simone's the biggest piece of shit trash writer you've ever seen, you hate all their stuff, fine, do it. Do
But
you
don't
need to-
at them.
Do you need to add them? Yeah, exactly. Do you need to tag them? Do you need to like no,
Wow.
you don't. Like, what
Because
are you
it's
trying to
Twitter, man.
I
And
hate that.
everybody can see it. Everybody can see it. And then they have their critics, and then they got to say something about it. And the next thing you know, we got a Twitter war. And I'm like,
at somebody.
and somebody, exactly, Brooks.
Brooks is
saw-
not even doing a bit.
exactly
He's
right.
being very.
He's being honest.
If you- okay.
What is that? What
You
does
know
that
the
mean?
little
For instance,
You know,
Like,
Brooks,
don't at me, bro.
Brooks on Twitter.
in the chat, y'all put an ad in there. You know the email address. You know
Brooks.
the email address.
I got him. Brooks, on Twitter,
Okay.
you have a Twitter handle. Like when you type in your name here,
Uh-huh.
and on Twitter, if your name was Brooks and someone did an @Brooks, you would get a notification. Like,
Saying that they
like
talk to you.
you would
or they
it would
were
be
addressed to
on
you.
your feed. You would be able to see it, and you get what I'm saying. Like you could literally like a celebrity that's on Twitter, like really on Twitter, not just a team, right? Like you could add them and like actually get a response, and it's kind of thrilling. And then for certain people who just like to fucking troll around and dick around, and I think a lot of it's usually just people trying to fuck with people.
Yeah,
Man,
Yeah.
it is.
you know, and then you
But it's
post
people they feel like they're owed something, and it's like just because you bought someone's book, you bought tickets to someone's movie, they don't owe you a freaking thing. They
Not
don't
at
owe you
all.
anything.
Yeah,
No.
they
They
gave you
made
the
it.
book. They gave you the movie.
You don't get to make these demands of them. Like they don't owe you their time. They don't owe you a response. And I get so mad when I see people. They're like, I've been tweeting at so and so because such and such kid, we're doing a fundraiser, they have cancer, and they're not responding.
Oh.
And I'm like, they don't owe
Okay.
you that. Like
Well,
they don't owe you that.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Also, like celebrities that have Twitter beefs with each other. Like we talked about this on our podcast at one point, but the Supernatural boys, somebody needs to take Jared Padalecki's phone away from him, because when Jensen Ackles, or when Variety rather, announced that Supernatural was getting the spinoff and that Jensen Ackles' production company, him and Danielle, his wife, that they were producing it, Jared didn't know. And so he immediately went to Twitter and he was like, hey, bro, this is great news, but like I should have gotten a heads up first. And I'm like, oh my God.
Shut
If
up,
you're
man.
that close, like if you're close enough to be that
Call
offended
him.
on Twitter, pick up your
pick up the
fucking phone and call him
Call
and be
him.
like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, what is this Supernatural spinoff that I'm not a part of? But instead, he went to Twitter and he weaponizes his fans, and I really don't like that about him. As much as I love the Supernatural boys, it drives me nuts that he uses his Twitter following to weaponize it against other people.
See, that's
I
crazy.
know.
Like if I had a problem with
Natural's
Delaney,
evil.
I wouldn't get on Facebook
No.
and like make it like a problem. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
wouldn't
you're
bring
gonna
that.
pick up the phone and call him and be like, what the hell is
What up,
going on,
bro?
man? Like,
Yeah.
Da-da-da,
Come
bro.
on, you piece of shit.
Yeah. And if
Yeah.
I'm going to
Exactly.
tag a comic creator on the Twitter post, it's usually because I have something really nice to say.
Yes.
About it.
Yeah.
I
We-
tag
we-
people when I say nice things all the time
Yeah,
because
no.
there's so much bullshit out there.
I have
So
said
we-
bad things about
I don't
things,
like
but
my
I've never
job so
tagged the
much.
creator.
I don't love Twitter.
Like,
I love
never.
Twitter.
Like this week, we posted our
Mm,
review
yeah.
of Shadow Service Volume 1, and we tagged Kevin Scott, and he like replied saying like thanks and stuff like that. But like I saw this ages ago, and I can't remember who it was, and it was a news website, and they tagged. Basically, they said about a couple of books getting cancelled, and they tagged the people whose books got cancelled. In other words, you're basically saying like, "You guys have been fired. You guys have been fired."
Yeah.
Like, and then one of them replied, going, "Thanks, man." Like, and I just thought they know they've just like lost that gig. The last thing they need is in their feed now.
Yeah,
to
it's some
get a new
idiot on
client.
Twitter
Like,
to be
but
like,
so-
hey, bro, you got fired.
I assume it's just some contributor was trying to be like eager when they were sharing the article on the website or whatever, and like just tagged the creators, thinking, "Oh, this is good. They'll retweet it." No, they didn't retweet it. They got annoyed. They responded annoyed. Like you've just tagged them in their essentially in their fired notice.
What
like,
if they were completely innocent and they were just making it like randomly and they were just like, "You are fired."
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they didn't even know. Maybe the press release had hit their inboxes before the creators have been told.
Brooks, as you can, I'm sure, imagine, like there are plenty of people that like this is their way to go and like harass people and like
that's all it is.
Yes.
We need to take Twitter away from everybody. I'm sorry, kids.
Well,
that is a horrible landscape to be on. I've seen it, and I want no part of it.
I'll tell you the one thing though about Twitter that I love is that I've met a lot of friends through Twitter.
I understand like
a lot, including
the idea. It's like
Mark and Jazz.
You guys, it's still a hellish landscape.
Also, at first,
that noise.
That's real life too, man.
I was going to say, Robbie is right.
You can walk outside and go to a Walmart and you'll cross the paths.
No one makes friends at Walmart. You can't do that.
That's how me and Brooks met. I'm just kidding.
I was behind the counter.
Walmart.
You kept asking me questions.
Robbie is right though. Like I've done it before. Like, you want to meet someone. Sometimes the easiest way is just to tweet them. Like, and I tweeted Robbie just like, come on our show, whatever. But I've done that with other people. Just like tweet people, like I've been watching the channel and we started our own podcast, and I was like, just tweeted Robbie saying, look, do you want to come on our show? Like, we then exchanged a few DMs. I think it is quite good for that kind of thing. But like, again, if
horrible actors out here, horribly bad actors out here that make it bad for the rest of you.
Well, of course.
It is a lot of them, and they're loud. It's not even a vocal minority at this point.
You're on Facebook and Facebook.
No, but I only harass my friends and family. That's all I need to harass.
Okay.
That's a lie. I'm just sorry. That's a lie. I cannot tell you how many times this dude. First of all, how many Facebook profiles do you have right now, Jelani?
Well, technically 2 active. But
okay. I cannot tell you how many times Jelani's like, I'm banned again because I purposely went into this pro-Trump group and started shit.
Well, thank you for your service, but stop that.
You are that guy, Jelani.
Do you know though? The one thing I would say,
the thing is, I don't do that. I don't do that on Twitter. See, I can do that on Facebook because it's just Facebook. Facebook is only certain things. If I do this on Twitter, if I did that on Twitter, my job be like, I'm sorry, but we don't need your stuff back.
You have seen people recently lose their job over Facebook posts.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, the handle's ice cream guy.
That's true. Yeah,
but he's stupid. But I don't know if you guys like that.
I don't know if you guys heard when we should never have lost the Euros last Sunday. It was
Italy, right?
It was horrible. It was horrible. Do you know what though? But
what happened there, bro?
Oh, don't
worry. The USA basketball team's actually not doing very well, and I don't. That's
to be honest, no. It was down to the wire. Like literally, it was penalties. Unfortunately, we've never done very well on penalties. And actually, this is the point. The last, it's a week ago now, but the last guy who took the penalty is a black guy, and Twitter decided where everybody was united over England, getting us this is our first Euros final and our first international final in 55 years, and where everyone's been like, oh, England, and literally, even I've been saying it to Jasmine, it's coming home. Even I was like, fucking get excited. I was like, finally, England are going to win. England are going to win international football for the first time since 1966. I was like, even I'm not a big sportsman, but I was like so into it. And then, literally, I woke up the next morning and someone says to me, have you heard about the racism all over social media and Twitter and stuff? I was like, what racism? Like, why is there racism? And basically all these English people that have been all pro, all the English players suddenly are, obviously not going to repeat anything that was said, but people literally turn on these particularly three individuals who have been nothing but supportive and trying to, and actually at the moment, if you think about the last 18 months of COVID, it's been quite a depressing time. It's the first real exciting thing that people have been really happy about in this country. And they just turn their backs. And somebody raised a good point. Every time you post something about COVID on Instagram, Instagram have a tag at the bottom about COVID, over here in the UK, about clicking on it, take you to the NHS and hospital, information on our hospital websites and stuff.
Yeah.
And if they can filter the word COVID, how can they not pick up racial discrimination on Instagram and Twitter?
Right.
And there has,
but do they want?
But they don't do it. But they don't want to do it
Because it causes interaction on their format.
Yeah.
which
So-
helps
And
their
listen,
advertisers get in front of your
Manchester
face.
United would be nowhere without Marcus Rashford. So all those assholes that jumped up on him, you better thank your lucky fucking stars that he plays for your ass. Otherwise,
yep.
Paris Saint-Germain ought to pick him up.
I don't know what I understood those words, but I don't know how they mean together. I don't pay too much attention to international football, but until the Olympics or the World Cup, and it's usually just the
the
women's
World Cup's
team
next
here.
year. Yeah.
Just usually, yeah. Now we got the Olympics this year. I'm excited. Are you guys like the? I'm such an Olympics fan. I'm more of a winter Olympics fan, but like diving's my shit. I love watching USA basketball. I love the Olympics. So I'm super excited to see what happens.
I mean, I might put it on if it's on, but I'm not an Olympics fan. But the World Cup I'll watch.
Oh,
so.
I'm a huge Olympics fan, but this is a mess.
I'll watch basketball in Olympics, but I watch basketball.
Tokyo is literally in a state of emergency, and they're still trying to do this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really know.
They're in Tokyo.
They've already said
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
no
Tokyo, yeah.
spectators,
Until they
no
had to move it down.
nothing. So there's going to be no fans in any of the stands. You've got.
Let's
like,
be
I don't-
honest. Let's really be honest here. The fans in the Olympic stands are usually not the most exciting anyway. Let's just be honest.
They just
Okay?
sit there.
It's usually just
They're
the
rich.
families of the people
Not like
competing.
Crimson Tide
like,
football
yeah.
fans or anything.
Oh yeah, you should go and watch
Yeah,
go back
true.
and see crowd footage of the England-Italy game and just watch people going insane. Even one of the commentators said there's no social distancing going on here.
Oh,
It was a good game, but social distancing was
Yeah.
way past finished.
Tokyo needs next year. Tokyo needs to do it next year. It's such a
Oh,
bad
brother, the Winter
time.
Olympics are supposed to be next year.
supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Supposed to be, yeah. We'll see what happens.
It's be every 4 years. They've ruined it.
I didn't mean to start a
2020
whole
was supposed to be
goddamn thing
perfect.
about COVID again, but like I'm just
Well,
like
but
I'm just
also
happy
like we
that the
got World
Olympics
Cup
are coming.
too. World
Yeah.
Cup in Qatar. Which
Qatar.
first of all, you talk about corruption. There ain't no fucking way on the planet that Qatar ever should have been awarded a World Cup. They
Did they even
paid the
finish
money
the
and they got
stadium?
it. That's how they did it.
Did they get the stadium and all that stuff built and all the oh god, that's a mess.
I mean, this place is so oppressive. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm upset. I'm upset about that.
It's
We've
the
I'm
movie.
a big sports fan, sorry.
We've had an interesting back chat. I'm just gonna say that. Like I had no idea that we were gonna go on about social media and all that kind of stuff, but I think it seemed like the basic gist of the whole thing and pop culture philosophers official stance is we love social media. That's how you get to know us. We're on social media right now, basically, right? But just don't be a douchebag. That's the PCP rule number one when it comes to social media, right? So just don't be a douchebag. Whether you're a creator or a performer or an artist, an actor getting tagged, or whether you're the person tagging those people, like, yeah, don't be a douchebag. Come on, like, learn to balance your own. Watch The Fifth Element. Maybe smoke some doobs. Turn on. Yeah, I don't know. Take some mushrooms about halfway through, and when you get to the end, you'll I think your life will be changed. Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, now it's time for show and tell, and I will go first tonight for show and tell because I don't have too much, but I got some stuff. First of all, I did open up my Soundwave and I got them transformed.
Nice.
And there's laser beak
Super
inside.
Nintendo cartridge.
It does kind of,
Yeah.
right? I'm really pleased with that. I think it's cool. I want to show this off. This is something that came in a Spawn figure I think I opened, but it's a poster of all the Spawn figures from that year. Look at that. Isn't that just freaking cool? There's such a cool novelty to have. There's the Ravage, by the way. He's transformed.
All right. He's not the best.
Yeah, he's all right. Laserbeak looks cool.
Laserbeak's cool.
There's my Toy Biz Doc Ock to go with my Toy Biz Spider-Man from the 90s. I love my Toy Biz. Got a couple of comics here. What If is Loki's over, but What If's right around the corner. Here's some What Ifs I'd like to highlight. There's number 12. What if Rick Jones had become the Hulk? This is the one that got repurposed to be a really cool meme where it was what if Rick James became the Hulk? And that's looked at. Yeah. It's really cool.
Give it to me, baby.
Charlie Murphy.
There's one of the most famous ones. What if Spider-Man had rescued Gwen Stacy? By the way, spoiler warning, in every What If issue, for the most part, it goes really wrong. Like, you should have let Gwen Stacy die because everybody else died because whatever. But I'm really pumped for that show. And the only new thing I got this week, because I'm taking it easy. But this is one of my favorite films, and I finally got it on Blu-ray for the first time because of the Criterion sale.
Yeah.
Got my 7 Samurai. So
Hell yeah.
very, very pleased with that. So hell yeah. Next up for show and tell, Mark.
Hold on, mate. I'm a little bit more prepared this time. Last time I was not prepared. I'm in my garage. It's kind of a work in progress. Behind here is like my makeshift gym. And anyway, so there's comics and all shit around. But the other day I was in the Disney store and they had this bin of like £3 toys. And I went through it and I'm like a big 90s comic fan. Anyway, can you see him? Morph, but it's like that whole Age of Apocalypse thing. Anyway, I grabbed 3 of them, and this is one of my favorite X-Men.
Yeah,
Nate Gray. I love Nate Gray.
Yeah.
Did you read Age of X-Men?
Sorry, did I what?
Did you read Age of X-Men?
Is that the recent thing?
Yeah, it happened right before the news.
Right before the new stuff.
No, I didn't read that.
Yeah.
But I read all his 75 issues of X-Men. I read all of Age of Apocalypse, and I read his whole title. But no, I didn't read the recent
Age of Apocalypse
thing.
favorite.
Oh, I love Age of Apocalypse. And look, Wild Child.
Yeah, Sabretooth's coming for him. Yeah.
But like obviously there's all the bits and pieces of the Sugar Man here, so I need to get the other 3. But I did this. The rest of this in this set is Sunfire, Weapon X, which I really would love to get, Dark Beast, and the Age of Apocalypse Jean Grey. But yeah, like for £3 each, I was like, that's not bad, you know. Like,
Yeah.
But it's kind of like inspired me to go back and start. So I used to have loads of X-Men, Spider-Man, and then when I got married, I had to sell off loads of my shit.
I
need the money,
Yeah.
But I've recently gone back and I've started to go and get some back issues of like Uncanny and X-Men, and I actually was so pleased I got this the first ever X-Men comic I bought, and I basically started to get all the Onslaught stuff, and I've started to get other stuff as well, like from sort of Uncanny 300 upwards to about I'm up to 340 here, but I'm going to just keep getting them like that, so the old back issues and stuff. But yeah,
hell yeah.
All right.
Those issue where Onslaught was first mentioned, right?
Sorry.
That issue of Uncanny X-Men, that was the first time that Onslaught was ever mentioned, I think, right?
I don't think it's the first time.
No, it's not his first mention.
But
It's not his
Juggernaut
first
mentioned
mention.
him.
Yeah, it's not his first mention.
It may have been earlier.
I think it's like X-Men 50 or something. They fight Post, which is a
Post
couple of
is-
issues.
there was mention of him before that.
But no, I love that
mentioned,
whole
like his
part.
name was mentioned.
Post. I think Post mentions it in
X-Men 50.
the next. Yeah, I think that's
I
it.
think there was an issue earlier where they find Juggernaut just like crashed in the middle of the city.
Bro, that's
and he,
not
like,
the first time
mentions
they mentioned that.
Onslaught.
That's
That's
that
like the
issue,
first.
but it's
Yeah,
not.
that's that. Yeah.
It's not the first. Post is the first, and then Post went on to
Really?
really develop a great line of series.
Yeah, so like
Delicious Christ.
that issue, Jean Grey shows up knowing about Onslaught, because I think the previous issue or 2 she'd been with Onslaught in like the Mindscape thing.
Yeah.
But Juggernaut had just returned, so I don't know if you remember Malibu Comics. So Juggernaut had been off for about a year or
Yeah,
so.
Exiles.
In the Exiles, yeah. And then he came, and that when you say he crashed, I think it's because he'd come back from the Exiles. So, but I loved all that time and stuff. But I sold off a good chunk of my 90s and early 2000s comics when I first got married. So Jasmine's heard me say in the last year or so, I've been going back and slowly buying stuff. But when I saw those figures the other day, I was like, do you know what, man? I loved all the comics back then. So and even back here, I don't know if you can see.
My favorite thing back there, by the way, is that one short or long box that you just won't let go. That has obviously been taped up like 18 times.
Go.
There's a
Bro,
photo-
they're just like
Now the
$5.
box.
Come on, man.
Twisted and evil.
Do you know what it? Do you know what it is? The comic shops that I get stuff from just can't get the stock. I literally keep asking, because like I can get it cheaper if I buy it directly through them. If I have to go online and buy like 3 or 4 comic boxes, it's quite a lot of money. So I keep asking the comic shops when they get them, but they keep saying they just can't get the stock. So
He doesn't ever have boxes anymore either.
hey,
Like the Deep hardly ever has boxes anymore.
Yeah, it's rare.
I to be honest, Steve, just normal cardboard boxes will do. Right, for now.
Robbie, your
you're
mic
muted,
is
bro.
dead. Yeah, you're muted.
We have boxes. We just have people that come in sometimes and be like, I need 25 long boxes. That's all.
I know. I last year, you can't see it, but there's a rack over here just full of all brand new boxes. But the guy I've been buying them from, he just can't get them, so I'm gonna have to go and buy them from somewhere else. But yeah, that one does need to go.
Switch
It
it
has
out.
sentimental value.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no sentimental value. I don't like it either. It looks terrible, and it's kind of sort of sloping over the edge here now.
Yeah.
You see the bottoms falling out of it.
Yeah, I actually prefer the real small boxes, because
Short
I
boxes
short
even
box.
carry.
I actually prefer the short
They're the
boxes
best.
because the long boxes I find that they tend to slope. If you get real small,
And they're moving.
Right.
They're
Fucking
moving
heavy.
disasters.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're,
they're
hate moving.
easier to move. So I want to get more short boxes. So
yeah.
Short boxes are the way to go. Speaking of short boxes, Brooks, show and tell. Show us what you got.
Ooh, actually, I
He
haven't
called you
been
brainless and a short
getting
box.
new stuff this week, so I'm trying to dig up some stuff. So I pulled this off my bookshelf. My Essential 4, Volume 1.
He's a cool dude.
That's some nice
I
hair
love
there.
these essentials. Like if you've never seen an essential, it's just like a bunch of old comics.
A
done in
very
black and
cheap
white.
way to get a big chunk. There's like usually 20, 25 issues each. Yeah.
I
They
remember
were
when I
like
started thinking,
15
like,
bucks.
awesome. It's like all this continuity that you can just buy in this one fat trade.
You're probably like me. That was
costing too much because it's in black and white.
you're probably like me. That was some of the first time I got to read the Kirby and the Lee and the Ditko and the
They
Ramita
got
stuff,
the first
man.
3 Fantastic Four essentials.
Nice Dirty
So-
Pair poster behind you, bro. What the hell, man? Why are you
He's
specking on
always had
Dirty
that
Pair?
dirty pair. He's always had that dirty pair behind him.
I put that one in pretty recently. I think it was the Long Kiss Goodnight video was the first time I had that poster.
Yeah, he's been up for a while.
Yeah, it's been up there for a while, but I've been changing a bit.
But still, nice Dirty Pair poster. Come on.
Yeah.
I got that from George, actually.
Yeah.
When I moved into the apartment. But I pulled my John Wick
John Wick.
Yes.
Steel
A
book.
steelbook.
Well done.
Next week.
You got no slips, son.
Chapter 2.
Nice.
Also
Oh, nice.
Steelbook. Unfortunately, I did not get the third one in the steel book. I didn't want to wait,
Parabellum.
so I went ahead and bought it. If I ever see the steel book, I might pick it up though.
Nice steel book. Too bad you don't have a slip for it. A steel slip.
A steel slip, that's kind of unnecessary, I think.
Yeah, it is.
It's protection
It's
slip,
like
baby.
it's just like overindulgent, you know. You get the steel case.
You
with
need a
the
slip for the cover, son.
You know what's
You're
funny
like,
is
you're
that
going too far, man. You're
It's-
going way
it-
too far.
it's become a bit to do a steel slip, but now I just remembered my Highlander DVD came with a steel slip. Like
See?
it came with like
Who
this like
wants to
yeah.
live forever?
I mean, I'm serious. I'm sorry. Everybody's always like, but you watch all your loved ones die. I'm like, bro, I've seen loved ones die. Like, I want to live forever. I want to know
if
what
you live
tacos.
forever, you can make more.
Yeah, but what are
loved
tacos going
Yeah.
to be like in 150 years? I want to know.
ones. Ooh.
Anyway,
Why'd you make
Brooks, what else you
those?
got?
Last of all, because the scene in this movie in The Fifth Element where he shows the guns off, you know, the gun that has like the tracker bullets and the flamethrower and the ice beam. That just made
Awesome.
me think of Samus from Metroid. So like, I busted out my
Samus
Metroid
Aran.
amiibos. I got little Samus. I got Z-suit Samus.
Hey, Samus. How you doing? How your
Last
mama
but not
doing?
least, Dark Samus.
Nice.
Dun dun dun.
Dum, dum, dum.
She
It's
eats
hard to do the
60.
Metroid theme justice.
And they'll make a movie and ruin it. I
Maybe.
can't wait.
I can make
can't
the
wait.
best Metroid movie.
Yeah.
Well, if you're out there listening and you're thinking about making a Metroid
guys,
movie,
I
holler at
got
Brooks.
a Metroid
Yeah.
script. I'll
He's
put
got
it
a
together.
5-year plan. He's got a 5-movie plan.
Yeah, 5-year plan for Samus.
Cinematic universe.
The Metroid cinematic universe. Eventually, it'll
Yeah.
cross over into Hyrule, and then shit really gets real.
And then
I like
Mario
it.
shows up at
And
the
the
end of all
Mushroom
that.
Kingdom.
Yep. And
Set
then
up
it's
for that
Super
Super
Smash
Smash
Brothers,
Bros.
the movie. Yep,
And
exactly.
you do an entire Super Nintendo.
All the Fire Emblem characters come out. Oh,
Jasmine, show and tell. What you got?
Well, I pulled out my my pops here for this episode specifically. So I got a Lilu and a Corbin.
Nice.
I have no idea where the boxes are. Those were gifts like 10 years ago. But I love them. I usually keep them up by my front door, so I will put them back when we are done. But also, this is kind of what I've been reading lately. It's a manga. It's called Boys Run the Riot. It is really interesting. It's by Keito Gaku. They are a transgender author. The book is about a transgender boy in high school that is having a very hard time, like living inside of a girl's body, but not like feeling feminine at all. But the story is really interesting because he meets this other kid who's basically like a delinquent. So this kid is like a delinquent, but he wants to be a fashion designer. And so when he realizes that Ryoko doesn't like to dress in gender-specific clothing, he's like, we're going to start a fashion brand. And Ryoko's like, no, we're in high school. Like, we're not going to do that. And so basically they kind of start small. They make t-shirts with some designs and stuff. But it's really interesting because it's sort of like the coming of age kind of story, but it's also a fun, like, are these high school kids really going to create like this fashion brand? This is the first volume, and the second volume actually comes out at the end of the month on the 27th. So I'm very much looking forward to picking up the second volume of this one. So that's what I got for show and tell this time.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Jelani, take us home. What you got for show and tell?
Yeah. I'm sure you guys are ready. I don't have any Fifth Element stuff. I'm really mad I don't. But I got this cool Frankenstein.
Ooh, nice.
In stores. It's the NECA version.
Damn, you got that already, bro?
Yeah, I found it at the Walmarts. But I want the black and white one. This is the one in color. I'm not taking it out of the box yet because I'm still enamored by this packaging. It looks so good, and it shows all the the heads and all the different stuff on it. Oh yeah, I love this box. And I might not open them until I get the Mummy and Dracula and all the others, but I absolutely adore this. NECA, you're knocking it out of the park with these. So any NECA haters, shut up. Shut up. Fuck up. Next, I'm gonna go to my Megatron, G2 Megatron. He is freaking awesome. He turns into the best tank ever. This is the tank we should have got with the Siege version. He is actually pretty beefy and cool, and I can't believe I found him randomly. I love how you're muted, man, and then all of a sudden you just start cutting in.
I just want to say that I've had this figure for the longest time, and when I first got it, all this dude was telling me was like, "Oh, I hate G2 Megatron. I'll never get that figure."
I didn't say that. I said that because that tank was garbage. But look how much better mine is with that Decepticon logo on the front. Mine is better than yours. Womp womp. So wompity womp womp womp. I didn't like it because it didn't have the Decepticon.
It's good that you're not on Twitter. That's a Twitter feud happening right there.
Exactly.
This one's better.
I always got double down, man.
And I lose my job.
And I have the original right there.
Be hilarious.
There.
Be hilarious now if Jelani goes on Facebook slagging Robbie off for his Decepticons and Transformers.
Yep. It will be the same. We'll have wars, but he likes old school. I like the new school stuff.
I'm expecting a Facebook war now.
Superhero pose.
Oh, poser.
Yeah, nice.
A favorite character in all of Black Widow.
Yelena.
Yelena. She is the best. I absolutely adore this figure, and I don't like the figure. I take that back. She's got a big gap in the back of her neck. I don't know if you guys can see it because of the focus.
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah,
it's terrible. It's terrible garbage. But she's got cool guns, cool little guns.
That neck looks like David Finch drew it.
Yeah, it does.
Do the arms move or do they stay still?
Yep. And then I'm super into these like freaking Masterverse figures now, even though I wasn't going to be a fan of them. But I finally got He-Man and Battle Cat.
I saw that Battle Cat is dope, man.
That Battle Cat is super
Oh,
dope.
that is so good.
It has a fucking
So
paw
cool.
joint. It should have been on the fucking.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
new one.
He's
I
so
was thinking-
freaking huge.
I was thinking about
told you
getting
the
that He-Man.
origins
I honestly was going to buy that He-Man this week, and then I stopped myself. Like,
Yeah, stop yourself because it's not the greatest He-Man.
oh, but that,
Okay,
that,
but like-
yeah, but
but
that Battle
the-
Cat looks so
His
good,
fa-
though.
His
Yeah.
face is terrible.
Yeah, but
The
if you got the Battle
purple
Cat,
nails on the Battle Cat. Like,
But
can we
Battle
talk?
Cat-
Did we go to the same manicurist? Because I'm loving the purple paint job on your fingernails there, Battle Cat.
Yeah,
yeah, but you know what? That Battle Cat, though, if
He's
you got the
got
Battle
great
Cat, you
nails.
can't.
That's all cringer.
Now it is. Oh yeah, you take the helmet off, and it's cringer.
Oh,
And I'm like, wow. The saddle is terrible though. That's the.
but if
only
you got the
downside.
Battle Cat, you'd have to get the He-Man.
I had to put-
Like,
Yeah, you have to. That's why I got him. I was like, he's got to sit on Battle Cat. But I bought Battle Cat first, and I was
Oh.
like, well, I better get He-Man too. I
oh,
better
you're
get
making me
He-Man.
now want to buy it.
So I got these, and then I got, of course, Skeletor. He-Man. I like his Havoc staff. It's the best Havoc staff I've ever seen. But it's so detailed. But I cannot stand his face. Something about his face really just bothers me on so many
Isn't he
levels.
like
I
Doc
like that.
Skeletor or something?
Yeah, he's Skeletor, and then he gets the power sword and becomes Skele-God, I guess. Spoiler alert.
The
For the
Skeletor
show.
figure.
So
There's
that's
a
just
Skeletor
regular
figure.
Yeah,
Skele-God.
Skele-God. And then I got Evil Lynn.
Oh man,
I didn't get Skele-God
Dude,
because
she's
I
been
haven't got her yet.
wait,
But
dude, she's been doing some deadlifts. Look at her.
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
she's strong. She's freaking strong. And they Havoc sword fight. It's great. Anyway,
they're like
Supposed to be
those figures
amazing.
are.
Why she have
and
like
then-
warrior muscles?
yeah.
Those are good figures, man.
They
They're
are
way better
pretty
than the
decent.
origins, bro.
And I got Moss Man too.
Fucking is he felted?
And he's not. No, he's not flocked. No, he is not. And he's the only figure of Moss Man that they didn't flock, which I'm pretty sure they're going to make one eventually. They're making a Scareglow for this. They just released the photos for Scareglow for this.
Oh,
So I'm
nice.
like, yeah, I'll get him too. But the Masterverse,
That's a
It's
cool
got-
effect
I mean,
on his arm. Is it?
yeah.
That's a really cool effect for
he's
his arm.
got different hands, and I like. I mean, it's supposed to point out, but it's so weak that it goes
It's a-
down.
It's a bit
but I
swamp
like
thing,
it.
but it's cool.
Yeah, he's a good Swamp Thing. I got it down to the ground because he's hitting the ground with plants and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, he's an Earth figure.
Yeah, that's
And
what
then-
Moss Man does.
Yeah, he does moss stuff. Finally, I'll
Okay.
do my figures, my Snake Eyes movie figure. I'm on a new level. And then I got Baroness, and I stuck this Baroness sticker on her, or the Cobra sticker on her chest because she needed that.
Why do you care so much about logos on the chest, bro? Jesus.
Because they have them as figures. I mean, that's how it works, man. I'm sorry.
We're conditioned. That's where the
I'm
logo for the
conditioned.
superhero goes.
The 80s taught me to put logos on your chest.
You know that the if you're trying to be a
Protect your neck.
if you're trying to be a Decepticon, you don't want a big ass Decepticon
Yes, you
logo
do.
on your
Yes, you
tank.
do. And I
Did you
got
know? Did you know that Rob Liefeld recently did
Oh,
a Snake
God.
Eyes comic?
Is
Really
what?
good.
Daddy.
Yeah.
No one cares about Raul Liefeld but you. Sorry, dude.
No, Rob Liefeld cares a
is.
lot. Trust me.
He cares a lot about Raul Liefeld and those cross hatching and those horrible feet. I also got this Storm Shadow and I put this Cobra logo on his chest. Look at me. Look at me putting stickers on
Good luck
things.
hiding in the snow now, buddy.
He was doing pretty bad with his eggshell off color white that I got to paint white, but I'll work on that later. But I mean, these are decent movie figures. They're pretty good. And he has great articulation.
You
even
excited
though
for that
he's
movie,
underwater.
bro?
Not at all.
Yeah, me
Not
neither.
at all. Mm-mm.
I
I'm
take
on a
it
new
you're
level.
Oh man, I love Andrew Koji. He's so fantastic in Warrior.
I don't care. Oh, I'm sorry.
I take it you're excited for the
I'm
He-Man
sorry.
anime.
I'm not trying to downplay him at all. It's just this movie is gonna be hot trash because they've already ruined like 50% of it already, and I don't care. I don't care about anything. I mean, as long as it's out and the figures look cool, so I'll get them. I'll get the figures all
You
day.
remember that?
They got
You
those.
remember that kid
But-
from Third Rock from the Sun?
Joseph
No.
Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, he should play Cobra Commander. Don't you think that'd make a good movie? And maybe get
He's on a
Doctor
new
Who.
level.
Maybe get Doctor Who
He
to play
gives some
Destro.
suits.
Maybe
Yeah.
get Doctor Who to play Destro. I'm
He
just kidding.
would-
They
he
already
was-
did
he
that.
was-
They can't make a good G.I. Joe movie.
he could have been a great Destro, and Jason Gordon-Levitt should have been a great Cobra Commander because he's just a mask. You don't see his face anyway. As long as you're emoting, the problem is that script, the casting of Channing Tatum and what's his name,
Marlon
Wayans and the freaking suits. Oh, I hate all of it. Oh yeah, it's like 4 a.m. for you. I'm sorry, dog. I'm sorry, Mark.
No, that's all right.
Marlon Wayans in the Dungeons and Dragons movie too?
Yeah.
Or is that another Wayans?
Yeah, what Marlon Wayans was in the Dungeons
Marlon
and
was
Dragons
in
movie
Dungeons and Dragons
with Jeremy Irons. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the girl from American Beauty. I can't remember.
Thora Birch.
Are you going to watch the He-Man anime that comes out on Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's where these figures are based on.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm
I'm watching that. It's Kevin
I'm
Smith.
really excited for that.
I'm about that life. But I'm on the new level. I'm not on the new level. Stop showing me another trailer, and if I hear I'm on the new level one more time, I'll get a Twitter account and attack.
Oh, no.
I will come at it.
Here we go.
Come at it.
All right. Thank you all
Just
for
saying.
joining us so much. Mark, Jasmine, tell us a little bit about what you got coming up, what you've been doing, where to find you. There is a link in the description below, everybody, by the way, to check them out on Apple Podcasts. Check out Geeks Unleashed. And speaking of Masters of the Universe, I think I'm going to be on soon talking about that classic movie from the 80s.
Which I have not seen. So this is going to be a first.
I know. I keep saying the same thing as well.
Treat. I gave it 5 year digs. It's a treat.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes.
But it's my nostalgia bubble, so you're on your own.
I mean, I do love 80s action movies. Like,
And they go
I
to Earth.
could pretty much recite, like, Commando as well. So, I mean, I'm all about the bad 80s action movies, so it's all good. It's all good. And I love Dolph Lundgren, so, well,
you're doing great then.
old Dolph Lundgren, not necessarily new.
Frank
Okay.
Langella is so great.
Yeah,
as Skeletor.
he's Skeletor. He's Skeletor. I only think of Frank Langella when I see Skeletor now. It's insane. I love the makeup. I love everything about that. That whole thing was great.
I'm excited. I'm excited to finally. Yeah, Mark's been bugging the crap out of me about it. He's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you haven't seen that movie."
I know how to get Robbie back on the show. Let's do Masters of the Universe.
No, so yeah, we've kind of streamlined the show a little bit. We were kind of doing 2 reviews a week and news of the week, and we'd review something current or review something old. Now in the weekly show, we're just doing the news of the week and doing something new. The old stuff, me and Jasmine are doing something in the background, and we'll sort of talk about that more in September when we're ready. But we're just now, the weekly show is just going to be just something current, like a current movie, a current thingy. There is a reason for the Master of the Universe thing being different. So it's going to be a graphic novel. So we're doing either graphic novels that are current, that have come out that year, or TV shows. So this Sunday we've got Black Widow coming out. We recorded that earlier tonight. Next week we'll be talking about Loki, and actually the following week we're talking about the Master of the Universe anime. The following week, we are doing the Master of the Universe Dolph Lundgren film, and Robbie's coming back on. The reason for that is I said to Jasmine, that weekend's my 40th birthday. And I said it would just be cool to just have like a birthday episode and just have a couple of people on. And we've got another guy popping on as well. And we just thought it'd be cool just to chat about something from the 80s when I was born. So I'm making Jasmine finally watch Master of the Universe.
Nice.
So I've been talking about this for about a year now. Every time I keep saying, I still can't believe you haven't watched it. So
yeah, that's insane.
We also
to see that.
It's my homework. I'll do it this weekend.
So be it.
I'll get on it.
We also do a
You're
monthly
kicked
book
out
club.
until you do.
We also do a monthly book club, and this Sunday we're recording The Killing Joke, and the episode will be out next week at some point. So in the book club, we tend to revisit older stuff. So what's the book we're doing in August, Jasmine? I've forgotten that.
Oh, in August, we're doing another sort of nonfiction graphic novel. We're doing Persepolis about the Islamic Revolution.
Nice.
And we're going to have a professor of like women and media studies on for that episode. I'm super stoked about that.
Wow.
Awesome. Well done.
So, I've actually been really enjoying our book club because like I've been reading nonfiction, which I never ever read like in any kind of format, but like graphic novel nonfiction stuff, it's a totally different experience. So I just feel like it hits that perfect medium where it's like it's not too wordy, but it's also super informative. Because in May we did They Called Us Enemy, which was about George Takei and his time in the Japanese internment camps when back in the World War II. So it's been really interesting to kind of read it through that lens.
Wow.
Heck
Sorry,
yeah.
you're blowing my mind.
Y'all need to definitely check out Geeks Unleashed. It's a great podcast. Mark, Jasmine, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you.
For a movie night. This has been a lot of fun. Jelani, Brooks, of course, you guys are my
You
best
guys.
friends.
Thick and thin.
Yeah, through thick and thin. Speaking of through thick and thin, join me tomorrow night on Dylan's Horror Show at 6 p.m. Central to talk about 2 werewolf movies on a non-full moon night. I would have scheduled this better, but I'm not Dylan, and it's Dylan's Horror Show, not Robbie's Horror Show. It is Bad
Damn,
Moon.
throwing Dylan under the bus.
Hey, bro,
That's what he does.
that's what I do. Bad Moon and Silver Bullet tomorrow night. I'm very excited for that. And the next week, join us here for PCP Movie Night. John Wick. All 3 films. I've never seen any of them. I'm
You're in for a
super
treat, bro.
excited.
Just
I
to
hope
think that whole franchise started because of a dog.
A
I
dog.
won't say the
That's
dog.
what I hear.
It's a
Yeah.
That's what I
dog.
hear.
If that dog had lived another day, that there'd be no trilogy.
It'd be fine. It'd be
Yeah, there
fine.
it would have been wrapped up. That film, the titles could have come up 10 minutes later.
Listen, that
Uh,
film has some of the
oh.
best gunplay I've ever seen in my entire life.
Kata.
I'm excited to check it out then. Also, check it out tomorrow morning here on the channel. The weekly pop culture wrap-up drops at about an hour after that over at Jim Mint Collectibles. Our top 10 comic books of the week is going to debut. And also, speaking of Jim Mint and Comic Story, and you can check me out, if you haven't already, on the stream that we did tonight, talking about Loki, episode 6, and how all 3 of us, me, Benny, and Jim, we were wrong about Loki. And we couldn't be happier. Anyway, we're